Is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
It's July 17th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Hope you're feeling lucky today because it's National Lottery Day. Founded by the Massachusetts State Lottery in 2018, the day celebrates the many ways lotteries contribute to state and local programs around the country. Lotteries date back to the 15th century, with one of the oldest dating back to 1441 in Belgium. Early lotteries in the U.S. paid for everything from cannons used in the American Revolution to paving roads up and down the East Coast. And today, lotteries still contribute to the states and communities they serve. Also on this date, in 1861, the Congress authorized the use of paper money. Initially called demand notes, they would be replaced by legal tender notes in 1862, which it still goes by today. If it's your birthday today, you share it with actor David Hasselhoff. Born in 1952. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher reminding you that 80 million listeners depend on AM radio to always be on, delivering news, talk, sports, traffic, and weather reports you can trust. AM radio also delivers vital emergency information when you need it most. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars. Text AM to 39179. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. If you're over 50 and tired of your wireless bill getting higher and higher, there are 4 things to consider. 1, how much data are you really using? As we get older, we use less data on our wireless phone, but you're probably still paying for an unlimited plan that was designed for 20-somethings. 2, if you see Get a Phone on Us, get your sneakers out and run the other way. No one is giving you a free phone. You are paying for that phone over time with an overpriced rate plan and a long-term commitment. 3, check the fine print on that $15 a month plan. It's probably an intro price that'll double or triple later. You might even have to pay for several months of service up front. Number 4, be aware of cable company wireless plans. Most of your usage will be on Wi-Fi instead of 5G, and your calls and battery life could suffer. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide service without the big wireless bill. Our plans start at just $20 a month.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews in Family Legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Are you over the age of 55 and want to secure your wealth with physical gold and silver? Do you want to own physical precious metals inside your retirement account, but don't know where to get started? We can help. We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold company in America with thousands of 5-star reviews. And for the past decade, we have been helping investors take their 401ks, IRAs, and retirement accounts and diversify them into physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, tax-free and penalty-free. And we can help you too. Call us right now, 800-900-8000, and get our free 2025 Gold Investing Starter Kit, 100% free. It comes with a one-on-one masterclass on precious metals investing from one of our seasoned experts. Just call 800-900-8000 now and claim your free Gold Investing Starter Kit. Also learn how you might qualify for up to $10,000 in free gold and silver. Supplies are limited. Call us at 800-900-8000 or visit us at AdvantageGold.com. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your tax or financial advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. About 1,300 workers were recently laid off from the State Department. X was full of emotional videos, recording diplomats gathered in the lobby to applaud, hug, and weep with their departing colleagues. Americans might wonder where similar coverage was for private sector workers when Joe Biden shut down construction of the Keystone Pipeline, or why no tears were shed for small businesses destroyed by COVID lockdowns. The State Department's hysteria is even more ridiculous in context. According to State Department documents, the department grew from 57,000 employees in 2007 to 80,000 in 2024. After growing by 23,000, only a meager 1,300 jobs were cut. It's just another example of the grotesque entitlement of the government class. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Probably heard, but you don't have to take your shoes off anymore when you go to the airport. This really shows you how stupid government bureaucracy is. One guy takes off his shoes, everybody freaks out, and then for 20 years, all the airlines across the country make tens of millions of people actually pull their shoes off.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a brief shower in spots early this morning, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow looks pleasant with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. You can imagine my surprise when I saw this John Garcia story over at ABC 7 Chicago yesterday. A lawsuit has been filed claiming sexual, verbal, and racist abuse occurred at a Chicago elementary school on the Northwest Side. Wildwood IB World Magnet School. The alleged victim of the abuse, just 10 years old, in 5th grade when it started, went on for 3 years, says mom. The young woman is just Jane Doe for the purposes of the lawsuit because she's underage. Sharon Hinton is mom's name, and she was represented by trial lawyers who had a little press conference yesterday. And here's what they had to say.
Jenny reports that students are calling her fat, ugly, shaped like an egg, shaped like a football, shaped like a marshmallow. And folks, Jenny's the only black student in her class. This is race-based.
Jenny Doe. Yeah, excuse me, Jane Doe, Jenny Doe, same concept. That was one of the reps from Disparity Law Firm. I saw Bob Fioretti president accounted for at the press conference. Interesting. Here is what another one of these trial lawyers had to say. So only black student at this Wildwood Magnet School.
The bullying was so extreme that Jenny became suicidal and had to be hospitalized.
Some may be hearing, may have heard what the trial lawyers have to say, that there was some name calling involved, and suggest that, well, what does that have to do with race? If, kids calling each other names based on body size or, other physical attributes, is that necessarily race-based or racist in orientation? Just even if she is the only black student at this school and it was white kids making fun of her. But that's where you make a mistake. Because I have been taught by the political power structure that certainly is in control of the Chicago public school system, talking about the 5th floor at City Hall, and I'm talking about the teachers' unions, probably in reverse order of importance, that you believe the accuser. That you believe the accuser. And so you'll share my shock to learn that CPS is operating elementary schools that are platforming white supremacy, bullying, and all sorts of other transgressions against students that they love so much. You know how I know that students are their business? Well, Stacey Davis Gates told me it's just been a couple weeks.
The attack on the idea of community is exactly the point. Take, for instance, all of the right-wing outrage over my sister, bilingual music teacher and unionist Kat Zamarin, one of the speakers at our November rally. She quotes brilliantly and perfectly American philosopher James Baldwin. Baldwin says, "The children are always ours."
Always. Yes. Always.
Every single one of them, all over the globe. And what comes next is, CTU thinks your children are its children. Yes, we do. We do. We do. CTU thinks all children belong to it, and there's socialist conspiracy ideology. Well, I don't know about all that, but we like children. We educate them, we nurture them, we protect them, we support them, we negotiate for them, we create space for them. We even have them in our homes. But for real, you guys, in community, we belong to each other.
So how is it working out for your daughter, Jenny Doe, Stacey Davis Gates? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. She does a wonderful impersonation of a conservative, by the way, does Stacey Davis Gates. A mom, in this case, the actual mom, not her surrogate mom, Stacey Davis Gates in the teachers union. But Jenny Doe's actual mom, Sharon Hinton, had this to say.
My daughter was physically, emotionally, and sexually harmed while attending a school that was supposed to protect her.
Now, the underlying allegations here, like an allegation of sexual abuse, the report is in one of the alleged, in the complaint, in one of the alleged incidents, Jenny Doe says one of her teachers rubbed up against her inappropriately, and another teacher allegedly hit her with a clipboard or a rolled up paper. Well, one might ask, which is it? You would think you would know the difference. Rubbed up against her inappropriately. Name calling. A skeptic might raise some questions about the underlying allegations here, but that's not for me or you to say. That's for Stacey Davis Gates to say, because it's her daughter. That's what I understand. They're responsible. They like kids. They have kids in their home. Yeah, they are their kids. So when this happens to one of their kids at one of their schools, what say CTU? Did anybody ask? Greg in Jefferson Park Rogers Park here in Chicago's Morning.
Hi, Dan. Dan, number one, the media is nothing but eye candy for men and a bunch of idiots. The whole system, the allegations of child abuse with the correctional institutions, the schools and everything, the way they have totally covered up for child rape enablers and everything else, it's disgusting. It is the worst pieces of scum around. And I hope someday these people blow up. Tim Evans, Tony Preikwinkle, all of them get fired. I don't know what you got to do, but it's so enraging. These people are the worst scum, and I'm just enraged. Where do you see what else happens? I don't know if anything's going to happen, but we've got to get a media that pushes back besides AM 560. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Yeah, he mentioned detention centers. Another story out. Attorneys say more than 900 survivors have come forward alleging they suffered child sexual abuse at juvenile detention centers in Illinois between 1995 and 2022. A new batch of complaints filed this week includes 107 new cases of alleged abuse. Plaintiffs claim they were raped, groped, and threatened, all while in the custody of an Illinois youth center or the Cook County Juvenile Temporary Detention Center, formerly known as Audi Home. They had a press conference yesterday as well. One woman who prefers to go by her first name, Caitlin, recounted an alleged incident at Illinois Youth Center in Warrenville where at least 5 staff members entered her cell, took off her clothes. Then she said a male staff member sat on her naked body and touched her inappropriately. So where are all of the child welfare advocates to rally for Jenny Doe at the Wildwood School in the Northwest Side? All of these prison reform crusaders to take up the alleged systemic sexual abuse of people in the state's custody, juveniles in the state's custody over the course of almost 2.5 decades. We can't just dismiss this as, big organizations. There's going to be some bad actors. There's going to be some unfortunate incidents. It's just one of those things. You're not going to say that. They wouldn't say that, could they? Would they? No. Well, they couldn't say that because that's not the standard they could because they're hypocrites, but that's not the standard they apply to other organizations. So instead of saying something about these big government institutions that have systemically failed and potentially worse, like systemically, since this is a favorite word of theirs, systemically, consistently provided a safe haven for sexual predators, the schools, the detention centers, they say nothing because they can't go after the source of their jobs and political power. They just turn a blind eye and, complain about Trump and deportations or some such thing, like Brandon Johnson is doing at present.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland traffic. The Ike, the Stevenson, the dreaded 294. You sitting in traffic is not time well spent. Time is money.
Oh, come on, man. What's the slowdown for?
Especially when you're trying to do your own company deliveries.
What is happening up there? I got things to deliver.
But instead of sitting there getting more and more frustrated,
please, can we go any slower?
You could be back at the shop getting work done.
I should have stayed at work and actually worked.
Get Quick Delivery Service to battle the traffic for you. They'll make your deliveries while you get other things done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your deliveries are tracked with real-time GPS notifications. Visit quickdelivery.com and stay out of traffic.
Oh no, this exit's closed?
Call now for a free quote. 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com.
AM 560. The
Answer. Coming up at 5:38 for a guy who wants the Epstein matter to go away. He sure has a strange approach to affecting it. The latest pronouncements from Trump on the Epstein files, 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's not planning to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. However, Nick Harper reports comments made in the Oval Office seem to suggest it hasn't been entirely ruled out.
Officially, presidents cannot remove Fed officials unless there's due cause. On Wednesday, Donald Trump suggested without evidence that Powell was guilty of fraud.
President Trump has been asked about the reports that he talked to Republicans about removing the Fed chair. President Trump insisted it's highly unlikely he'll fire Powell. Trump has been highly critical of Powell's refusal to cut interest rates, saying he did it for Biden but not for him. President Trump is reportedly planning to sign an executive order that would clear the way for 401k retirement accounts to invest in private assets. The Wall Street Journal says that the executive order would direct the SEC and Labor Department to develop regulatory guidance for employers about including private market investments in 401k plans. Private market investments include venture capital, real estate, and hedge funds that are publicly traded. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store, and right now you'll find the latest summer styles all for under $25 with new arrivals every day. You never know what amazing deals you'll find, so don't wait. Find the location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now...
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John this Saturday afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4 right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a passing shower early, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow brings pleasant weather with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas, Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. There's one of the rules, laws, if you will. Morton Blackwell's laws of the public policy process, rules of the road. And don't treat your friends like you treat your enemies. Is Trump violating that rule right now in his, I would say, bizarre approach to the Epstein Files matter? He wants it to go away, but he continues to talk about it, and he continues to get more pointed in his criticism of other people who want to talk about it and not just accept as the last word on the topic the memo that Pam Bondi issued 10 days ago. Here's what he had to say yesterday, to my point, when he was questioned again about this characterization of the Epstein Files as a hoax being perpetrated by his political enemies. This is as he was visiting with the Emir of Bahrain.
Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
People that have questions about the official story as presented by Pam Bondi. Stupid people doing the Democrats' work. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Stupid people. He added some color on this on Truth Social. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, misspelled. The lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Democrats swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They're no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates, as you heard him in a tangent repeat there. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will call forever the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bull jive, but that's not the word he used, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. No, you're welcome for my attention to this matter. I don't want their support again. Past supporters, weaklings, hook, line, and sinker. It's a very strange approach that he's taking on this whole matter of the Epstein files, isn't it? Or is Trump the cooler, like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse? When do I know to talk about or not talk about something? I'll tell you. Even something that I started, so it's a little bit unlike the cooler in the sense that he started the fight, so we should know that that's the time to join the fight. And then I guess he'll tell us when we can stop fighting, and that time is now. Sort of a facsimile of the cooler. And it's important to what I just said, that he started the fight. It was Donald Trump who really raised the profile on Jeffrey Epstein, who raised the issue of Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton and their relationship, who raised the issue of Epstein Island. Don't believe me, believe perhaps one of his, what now past supporters, one of these weaklings whose support Trump doesn't want anymore. I mean, is there a bigger MAGA podcaster than Benny Johnson? I mean, it doesn't particularly do anything for me, but just in terms of his popularity and standing in MAGA world. Well, here's what he had to say, Benny Johnson, who apparently has been excommunicated, according to Trump, from MAGA. What Benny Johnson had to say and the clips he was prepared to play. You know, he's got the receipts, as the kids say.
Like, bringing this into the public arena was President Trump. That's a matter of historic record. It's not up for debate. I'm saying that's a good thing. Like, yes, thank you for doing this. Donald Trump, it was 10 years ago, a decade ago, on stage, before anybody ever heard of Prince Andrew or Bill Clinton and Epstein Island. No one knew about those things. And Donald Trump's like, these people are monsters, and they deserve to be called out. And I'm running against one of the families who's totally implicated here, the Clintons. And this is what Trump said at the time.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool.
So if this was a hoax, did Trump perpetrate the hoax on himself? He's the one that brought it into the public arena, certainly amplified it inside the public arena, didn't he? That's not a deep fake you just heard. What are we to make of this? Do you feel excommunicated from Trump's good graces if you persist in desiring more information or asking commonsensical questions about all this? I've got many more now. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Phil in Maryville.
Morning. Yeah, Trump says this is a hoax. I'm like, okay, well, if it's a hoax, release it so we can make our decision on this supposed hoax. And how do you have the biggest pedophile ring out there and, like, 3 people we know of are maybe were arrested or paid someone off or paid the people who were abused off. It makes zero sense. I mean, I like Trump, but this kind of gets me a bit angry, and I'm lost a little respect for him. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Phil. Well, I mean, which part is the hoax? Could you be more specific? The whole thing is a hoax? Or just some aspects of it? I'm a little unclear. Because, you know, over the course of this saga of decades, we have a lot of information. We have a lot of victims who've been identified. We have settlements that have been entered. Don't forget, Prince Andrew reportedly settled a civil suit that was brought by Virginia Giuffre, now deceased, victim. Reportedly settled that for something like $16 million. Is that part of the hoax? When J.P. Morgan entered into a $290 million settlement with Epstein accusers, who said that J.P. Morgan Chase turned a blind eye to Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking, allegedly in part financed through accounts that were held at J.P. Morgan. $290 million settlement. Was that part of the hoax? How big is this hoax? Who's in on it? Or which aspects are we talking about so we can narrow our focus? Does this strike you as something that is tantamount to the Russian collusion hoax or the Hunter laptop hoax? He throws those in there to essentially say they're all of a similar kind, but are they? Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. Always good talking to you. Here's my question. If they've got goods on Trump and the Epstein file and other stuff, why wasn't it released during the Biden administration? It was all quiet in the Biden administration, wasn't it?
You're not allowed to talk about it, Bob. We're moving on.
Oh, I'm not?
You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to ask questions. Otherwise, you're a Quisling. You're a traitor to MAGA. You're a past supporter. That's what he just said. Nobody said. Thanks for the call. I'm not suggesting that there are any goods that are in the document per se, documents, files per se. I don't know. I said earlier in the week, if they had evidence that Trump had committed a crime, I suspect that thought they did. I suspect that they would have moved on him with said evidence or evidence they thought was sufficient, and they didn't. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think my belief, based on just intuition of the context here and what is in the public arena, is that Trump was not a participant in the illegality, which makes his behavior all the more curious. I suggested the other day, I mean, maybe there's something in the substance of the evidence gathered by law enforcement, and we don't exactly have a handle on how much, but it's substantial. Maybe there are some things that he doesn't want to get out and would make him uncomfortable, or they're embarrassing. But that is not a sufficient reason to provide anything less than a full accounting. If that's the reason, I don't know what it is. Because, as I said, his behavior is difficult to explain, but I believe he is someone who acts in his self-interest, politically and otherwise, like everybody does, and that he's rational about these things. So there has to be an interest being served by the approach that he's taking, if you believe the premise from which I started. I don't know what that interest is, but how he is going about attempting to serve it strikes me as strange and a bit self-destructive. Now, it's hard to exactly calibrate it when you don't know what interest is being served. You don't know why exactly he is taking such a hardline position and going full sort of carnival barker to those who don't fall in line. Matt in Mount Greenwood.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. It's just utterly surprising. He's disenfranchising the people who support him the most. But I've been thinking about this since it's all been revealed and Trump's stance. I thought perhaps maybe, the family business is being affected by this. I mean, let's face it, you're dealing with some of the most powerful people in the world. And I would.
Is there someone more powerful than the President of the United States?
No, no, there isn't. But the point being is that his whole extended family, his family's business interests may be affected by this. Chase has given, all that money for these settlements, and how is his family business being affected by it potentially? Let's not forget what we realized about JFK, the JFK murder, and, 2 attempts on Trump's life. He might be a little bit nervous. He's making some bad decisions, as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks for the call, Matt. I put together some thoughts on this. I was just thinking about this last night. I posted on X. Take a couple more calls first. Susie, Northside.
Good morning. You know what, Dan? I don't think it's over. I think that I think they're squashing it for now, and I think everything is going to come out. But for some reason, they have to squash it for now. But I think everything will come out for whatever's going on over there. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Susie. Mike in Northwest Indiana.
Good morning, Dan. I think Trump's issue or concern primarily, he's got a short period of time, razor-thin majorities in the House and the Senate. Any kind of distraction from getting that done. It's like he's building a big multi-billion-dollar construction project, and a couple of people on the project work for him have some sort of thing that'll never be. No one's ever going to know, because all the people that were both parties involved in this, nobody's going to rat on each other. Same thing with the Kennedy assassination. We'll never know. It's a waste of time and energy. We've got bigger fish to fry. We're $37 trillion in debt. Country's on the verge of collapse, and a lot of means worse than we think it is, or they'll let out. That's what concerns me. And devoting energy to this chase that'll never be answered.
Well,
I screwed up, and I did this. That's why it hasn't been solved yet, because they're all involved in it.
Well,
and we just got to move on. There's bigger things, bigger fish to fry.
Well, okay. Thanks for the call, Mike. I thought that part of the value proposition was that this is going to be different. That you don't move on from things like this because we've been doing that for too long, and it has bred mistrust in government, and it has allowed a deep state to take hold of our intel agencies, and it has allowed the weaponization of law enforcement agencies against people who are politically out of favor. I thought that the full disclosure, something that was, by the way, promised from MAGA world. This isn't being imposed on them. He amplified it. I just played the clips from a decade ago. He brought this into the arena and made it a thing. And it became a bigger thing because of all of the palace intrigues surrounding the handling of Epstein by federal prosecutors 20 years ago in West Palm Beach, and all the way up until his death in custody. And the accusations flying around about who partook in this gruesome sexual trafficking business that Epstein and Maxwell were operating. I thought the whole point of MAGA, as I've said a couple of times this week, was for too long, the political class, both parties, has protected itself at your expense, and Trump, MAGA, is going to go after is going to protect you at the political class's expense. Flipping the script. We're going to name names. And we're going to hold people accountable. The reckonings that never come are going to come. Is that part of the value proposition of MAGA, or do I have it wrong? And now, in one of the highest profile and serious, substantively serious conundrums, we're told to move on, and if you don't, you're a weakling and a traitor who Trump is excommunicating from MAGA. Does any of that square with you? Really? Bill, Northwest Side.
Yeah, Dan, he needs to show us the nothing. Don't give us the move along. There's nothing to see here. It's not going to go away until you just release everything and show us. Otherwise, you're going to still keep getting the same questions and the same. It's just a hoax. You need to show us to make it go away.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Speaker Johnson was asked about it yesterday, and he definitely allied himself with Trump and transparency at the same time.
We're for transparency. I'm saying the same thing the president is, that you need to have all of the credible information released for the American people to make their decision. We trust the American people, and I know the president does as well. That's an important principle to abide by here. What they have to do, though, what the president has to do is protect the innocent. I mean, there are, whistleblowers and minors' names involved in things related to Epstein, obviously, and you got to be careful not to release that.
Yeah, so don't. So say, like, here's a trove of information. I'm going to point you to some redactions that are intended to protect the innocent. Okay. And if that's unsatisfying, well, then that's unsatisfying. I'm not saying that you have to do disclosures to everyone's satisfaction. I mean, use good judgment here, consistent with how law enforcement should operate in cases with sensitivity such as these. No one is being unreasonable. Well, I mean, there may be some people being unreasonable, but no one is suggesting an unreasonable and improper level of disclosure. They're suggesting a credible, detailed accounting. All right, well, I've got more on this, and I know you all do too, so we'll take more of your calls and get into it a little bit deeper at 6:06. It is now 6 a.m., AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
It was first targeted as wasteful spending by DOJ. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Federal funding Senate Republicans want to cancel.
On this vote, the bill is amended as passed.
And that final vote was after 2 o'clock this morning.
This shouldn't be a hard one. It's $9 billion. It's 0.1% of all federal spending. And it's a chance for us to claw back some of the waste, fraud, and abuse in a lot of these programs.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune. Most of that money was supposed to be foreign aid. There's also funding cut to public broadcasting, as Republicans say PBS and NPR have a liberal bias. There were 2 GOP no votes. Senators Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins concerned the broadcasting funding cuts hurt rural areas. All Democrats voted no. Senator Dick Durbin says the bill tarnishes America's image as a global leader. Now in the House, 3 cryptocurrency regulation bills cleared procedural hurdles after some Republicans spent days trying to make changes and keep the Fed out of crypto. GOP Congressman Andrew Clyde tells Fox Business.
The pushback was about ensuring that we had the best opportunity possible to ban central bank digital currency because, that sets up the surveillance state. We're not like China.
A federal prosecutor is out of a job.
Maureen Comey was fired from her job in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. She is the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, who President Trump fired during his first term after Comey initiated the Russia investigation. Maureen Comey recently helped prosecute Sean Diddy Combs, who was convicted of a prostitution-related charge but acquitted of more serious charges. She was also involved in the criminal case against sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
That's Fox's Kristen Goodwin. Now, President Trump's calling a simmering controversy about Epstein a hoax. Conservatives demanding more information are being conned by Democrats, and he doesn't want their support anymore.
as they challenge a Justice Department conclusion Epstein did kill himself in jail awaiting charges on sex trafficking crimes. They also believe Epstein had a client list. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Illinois Comptroller Susan Mendoza isn't running for re-election. The Chicago native announced yesterday that she isn't seeking a fourth term as the state's chief fiscal control officer.
It's been my truest honor and privilege to serve you in what has been the hardest and most fulfilling job I've had yet.
Mendoza didn't rule out a 2027 run for Chicago mayor and saying Chicago's in dire need of competency. The former state representative and Chicago city clerk unsuccessfully ran for mayor back in 2019. The Chicago City Council was not successful in its effort to override Mayor Johnson's veto of the proposed SNAP curfew. 34 votes were needed, but alders only came up with 27. Mayor Johnson says that the proposed SNAP curfew discriminates against young people, and he officially vetoed the measure before the start of yesterday's City Council meeting. The ordinance would have given the Chicago police superintendent the ability to declare a curfew within 30 minutes notice of a takeover, which is basically where they shut down the entire streets and do burnouts and all sorts of craziness. This came about because a tourist was shot during one of these takeovers. And Paul's Chicago is taking in more than 24 dogs from the flood-ravaged areas in Texas. The canines were in Texas shelters before the flooding over the 4th of July weekend. They arrived in Chicago this week. The dogs will be treated before they can be adopted by Chicagoans. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Be prepared for tax changes in 2025. Without a solid strategy, you could risk losing more of your hard-earned savings than necessary. VestGen Wealth Partners can help develop proactive tax plans designed to help keep more money in your pockets. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com for a free review.
Advisory services offered through VestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and VestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. VestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS,
IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, 13 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 8 minutes, 11 minutes outbound. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 17 minutes outbound, 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes outbound, 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge. For in-store verbal appraisals, bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a brief shower in spots early this morning, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow looks pleasant with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here talking about Epstein, Trump's latest pronouncements on the Epstein files, his dismissal of MAGA supporters who are not falling in line to accept the official word from the Department of Justice and be done with it. It was the subject of a funny yesterday. Shane Gillis hosting the ESPYs. And, Shane Gillis, who's MAGA, making jokes.
Donald Trump wants to stage a UFC fight on the White House lawn. The last time he staged a fight in D.C., Mike Pence almost died. All right. No, you don't have to do that. It was fine. I didn't write it. Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore that. The New York...
setting the J6 joke aside there. Boy, I don't know. When you start to become, or your position starts to become a punchline, maybe it's time to rethink your position. I've got some thoughts, just some thoughts in summary, and then take more calls on this, thinking about the last week or so. So, just to summarize, Trump has effectively stipulated publicly he was briefed on the Epstein files by Bondi. So, one question is, what, if anything, did he tell Bondi to do or not do after that briefing? I haven't heard anybody put that question to Trump. We know what he said now publicly. His initial statement in the cabinet meeting last week was just to say this is over, there's nothing more to it, and allow Pam Bondi to offer some concluding remarks. And then the acrimony that spilled out into the social media sphere over the weekend, the alleged acrimony between Bondi and Bongino. Questions about Bongino showing up for the office. Would Bongino resign? Would Bongino and Kash Patel resign? Kash Patel saying, I'm sticking it out. I serve at the president's pleasure. I'm staying as long as he wants me over the weekend. Bongino saying nothing, but showing up to the office on Monday. And Trump going out on Monday and saying, talk to Dan Bongino, great guy. Everything's good. There's no attempting to force the president's hand. It's either her or me. That not happening, apparently. Although notably lacking has been any public comments from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino for the last week. They haven't made any statements backing the Trump-Bondi handling of the matter, have they? And then Trump, with no indication that he had become aware of any new information, altered his position of everything that is to be disclosed, has been disclosed, move on. That was his initial position. He altered his position that there was nothing to see here. And then, without evidence, said the files were conjured up by his political enemies, Obama, Biden, Comey. But nonetheless, Bondi should release any remaining Epstein material that is credible. It was his word. Well, what could be credible if the files were concocted by his political enemies, as he alleges? If it's the Steele dossier redux, then there's nothing credible at all. So why even suggest any material that's credible? There is no credible material because it's a hoax. Doesn't square. How could there be any remaining credible content for Bondi to disclose if the above, if what I just said is true, and if Trump had been briefed, and in his view, Bondi had disclosed everything there was to disclose, as he said at the cabinet meeting? I also wonder aloud what sort of personal appeal would get Kash and Bongino to dummy up but remain in the fold with their respective credibility on the line, given all of their previous pronouncements prior to their FBI appointments, because their credibility is on the line. Was it along the lines of Trump's Truth Social post loyalty test, calling the whole matter the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, characterizing those who were saying very similar things to what he was saying pre-election about the need for full disclosure as his quote-unquote past supporters who have quote-unquote bought into the bull jive, hook, line, and sinker? Another question. If the whole thing is a hoax perpetrated by his political enemies, was Ghislaine Maxwell wrongly convicted? Is she a victim of the hoax or a perpetrator? But if it's a hoax and there's no underlying substance to it, why is she in jail for 20 years? Is he considering a pardon or a commutation? What does he have to say to the alleged victims, which, according to DOJ, well, I don't think this has officially been confirmed, but the number of victims reportedly is in the range of 250 to upwards of 1,000. And if the sex trafficking wasn't part of the alleged hoax, as I mentioned last hour, well, which parts of the story are part of the hoax and which parts are not part of the hoax? Finally, if there is a hoax afoot, wouldn't more scrutiny, not less, be more likely to expose the hoaxsters and deliver a reckoning to them? And don't you find it ironic that this declaration of a hoax and followed by trust me, when the hoax is proven to be hoaxes of recent vintage, have been punctuated by the same admonitions from the credentialed. Cult of authority politics isn't America first, is it? It's a hoax, trust me. Don't ask questions, accept. So if there's nothing to see here, there, and everywhere, then what is the harm in laying everything bare? As I said last hour and earlier this week, if Trump has committed no crimes, and I believe he has not, then he needs to move beyond whatever is his discomfort with the contents of Epstein-related documents and be transparent, even if it is not in his short-term political interests, because doing so is critical to his long-term ones. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Chris on the Dan Ryan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. You had posed a question a few minutes ago in regards to, is the president the most powerful person in the world? And you replied, yes, he is. And I think that the caller replied, yes, he is. My question is to you, yeah, he is the most powerful person in the world, but I think there's more powerful people politically and I guess more politically than President Trump. He's got an agenda he has to push through the next couple of years. And I think that he was posed the question to him that if you push this stuff through and keep pushing this Epstein thing through, you're not going to get anything through Congress or Senate because there's so many people involved in this. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. That's my tinfoil hat.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Well, I mean, let's say that's true. Then why isn't that's true? So why doesn't you just say that? What's wrong with just saying that? What? Because then it would compel him to name names. He doesn't have to. Not required to. It may call into question his judgment. It may call into question the judgment of the Department of Justice if they have the goods on people who engaged in criminal acts that for which they still have legal exposure. I don't know. It doesn't strike me that that's the case, but it could be. I don't know. That's why this whole thing makes so little sense. What could possibly be the upside to handling this? And for those who say, well, this is all a distraction, well, would it be a bigger distraction for him to have laid this bare, warts and all, and just taken whatever would come? Provide more detail, not less. Provide less moralizing, not more. Less antagonism, not more. What is creating the distraction? Is it people's, again, honest to goodness, commonsensical questions about something that is serious? Or is it Trump's approach to their questions about something that's serious? Which is creating more of a distraction? I mean, this is a tempest of his own making, is what I'm suggesting. Dawn in Naperville.
Good morning. Does anybody remember the movie The Sound of Freedom? The real life events of Tim Ballard, who was a former Homeland Security agent rescuing children from sex trafficking.
Played by Jim Caviezel.
Does anyone remember how many years Hollywood sat on that movie? 5 years it took. It wasn't until it was bought by Angel Studios that it was finally released. So that became a hit. You know, it's one thing to hear that we've got problems with sex trafficking. I think when that movie came out in 2023, which was an unexpected hit, that brought the visual realization of the problem that we have and how women and children are abused. Now, why did that take 5 years to come out? Does anybody want to explain that to me unless there's something to hide? And there was an island that was featured in that movie. And was there any connection? But to me, this is what it seems like. I don't think for a minute, President Trump would ever want to protect a child predator or Jeffrey Epstein. In my opinion, I think there's an international connection, and he's looking at the names and he's saying there's absolutely, we cannot let this be released. But if that is the case, Mr. President, my suggestion would be make the case with the American people. Just present that and say, listen, there are names on here. I cannot, as the president, I have to protect the nation. And it's going to bring an embarrassment, and it's going to hurt you as an American.
I'm confused. So I would not. I don't. Wait, Dawn. I'm not confused about that. I'm confused about your line. Okay. I'm confused about, on the one hand, you're saying I don't think that Trump would protect any child predator. On the other hand, I think there's an international connection where, for some reason, he's protecting child predators. So which is it?
I don't think it has anything to do with the child predator. I think there was something else going on internationally.
Yeah, but you know there are child predators, right?
I don't. So it's in his language. Can't you hear his language? He's already telling us Why are you talking about Jeffrey Epstein? He's dead. I don't think it's about him. I can already tell by his language. He's already communicating to us to that. So what is he telling us? There's something else.
Well, we shouldn't need to be Alan Turing and decipher his coded language. That's what I would say.
Well,
and who? I mean, first of all, the idea that you're protecting these sort of nebulous international figures, international men and women of mystery, or whoever they are, because it would bring some sort of embarrassment to America. I mean, how does that outweigh the underlying conduct we know was committed?
Well, his attorney general from the beginning should have laid the case to the American people. Instead, she brought out these binders. It was a misstep on her, and he's protecting her. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, what if it's the other way? What if it's the other way? What if she's protecting him?
Well, I doubt that.
Well,
you think for
you want to talk about?
You want to know what?
You want to talk about
Here's
language?
How you know
though.
that's not true?
Well,
are the Democrats going after him on this? Or are they staying quiet too?
No, some of them are now. They Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal. Now all of a sudden they see.
I mean the politicians.
Well, these are politicians. These are members of Congress. They're going after. They're trying to get full disclosure of the Epstein files. Now, of course, they had no interest in it during the Biden years. They're hypocrites, but they're seeing a political opportunity, and they are going after it now. Some of them. That is happening.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Dawn. I mean, I just say, think about the problem with this is you can play this out a lot of different ways because it is so opaque. But what if President Trump, Pam Bondi briefed him, right? That's stipulated. He knows the contents of all of the evidence that she reviewed. And I mean, prodigious. Official reviews, including of a 2025 DOJ FBI memo, 300 gigabytes of data, including victim images, videos of more than 10,000 downloaded child sexual abuse materials and pornography. Okay, so that's a lot. And so she briefs him, and he says, "Okay, we're not disclosing that." And then there's a reaction from Bongino and Kash Patel, whose credibility is on the line, and so many others. And then Trump immediately backs Bondi and says, she's doing a great job. Everybody needs to get along. I don't want to hear any criticism of Pam Bondi from inside the House or outside the House, and I want this to go away. Isn't that as plausible as the other hypothetical? Carrie in Crown Point.
Good morning, Dan. I think Trump just touched the third rail of MAGA. He's supposed to clean up the cesspool and get rid of all these conspiracy theories. He's made another one because there's a lot of something there. And the other point is, if it was the Obama people and the Biden people who are doing the same setup they did to Trump, then show that even more to vindicate yourself, and maybe you get some Democrats on your side going, oh, my gosh, the deep state is really doing what Trump said. He really stepped in it this time.
Thanks, Carrie. John in Portage Park.
Yeah, hi. I just heard on the news that called me. It's either his daughter or his wife got fired from DOJ, and she was...
His daughter, Maureen, yes.
Okay. Well, she was like a lead prosecutor on Epstein's case.
Yes, and P. Diddy. She was also on that trial.
And maybe there might be some wrinkle there. She might come out with a book or something, and she has the same information. I'm pretty sure that Bondi has. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
I would think. Thanks for the call, John. Although maybe Dad provided some, off-book information. Who knows? I mean, the palace intrigue here. This is exactly what happens when you don't get a reasonable answers to legitimate questions. Maureen Comey's firing doesn't bother me, but the timing of it looks bad, and it just feeds more of this conspiratorial talk to the detriment of Trump. So going back to the handling of this, you want this all to go away. Is this how you think it's going to go away? This is how you think you're going to make it go away? How's it going so far, do you think? Hey, Garrett and Carrie.
Morning, Dan. How's it going so far, your last comment? I heard an interesting theory on YouTube from John Kiriakou, who was a CIA
former
operative.
CIA whistleblower. Mm-hmm.
And his theory was that that Epstein was working for Israeli intelligence.
Yeah, I've heard the theory. Tucker Carlson put it out there over the weekend as well. There's really not much evidentiary support, or even sort of, circumstantial support for that contention. And point of fact, that was something that was sort of invented late in the game, or posited, maybe not invented, but posited late in the game here in this Jeffrey Epstein saga, like 4 or 5 years ago. I think some of what Mike Benz has had to say that may or may not connect him to the CIA is more interesting, certainly warranting some response. And we'll see. I don't know that we'll get any more color or clarity on that either. But I think thanks for the call, Garrett. But I think some of the people that are suggesting that he was working for Mossad are doing so without much foundation. By the way, Naftali Bennett has repudiated that too. And of course you say, well, of course, representatives of the state of Israel are not going to embrace it. But, Ben's, by comparison, talking about Epstein's relationships with people like Adnan Khashoggi in the 80s is much more interesting because those connections have been established. Now, what he did or didn't do on behalf of these interests and under the auspices of spy agencies like the CIA, well, those are open questions. But because those are open questions, and I think legitimate ones, generally speaking, I mean, it just speaks to more of the need for transparency because it is, as I've said many times now, it is not just about this human trafficking and this sexual exploitation. That's big enough. But then you have these other circumstantial issues that implicate the upper reaches of the U.S. government. I'm not drawing conclusions. I'm just saying there is a circumstantial case that warrants a response from those in charge, including John Ratcliffe, the current director. Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning. Yeah, part of me, I don't know. I don't think he's handling this very well with his statements that he's making, but that's Trump. I mean, that's his way. I don't know. But so there's I have two thoughts. So one is maybe it's just Occam's razor. Maybe this guy was just a degenerate pig and has all this stuff that they said he had, these collections of, child abuse and stuff like that. And while maybe he had clients, maybe they were just better at covering their tracks than he was at recording them because these are high-profile people, and they have handlers and people that make sure that nobody knows what they're doing. So maybe it's just that, and we just have to accept the fact at the end that this guy was just a freak with a collector of nastiness. But then on the other hand, This is Trump. And Trump is not against pissing off his friends to get them to get into a fight with him, to help him. And he's also not against making it look like he's pissing off his friends to drag the enemy, the Democrats, in for full support or full disclosure. So, I mean, we always talk about the 4D chess and everything else with Trump, and sometimes I think he steps on the table more than he runs the table. But that's the other side of it. Maybe one is just Occam's razor, and it's just as simple as it is, and we're just going to have to swallow it and keep our eyes up and our heads up in the future. Or maybe it's just this is his way of just kind of sandbagging and getting these other people to come in and be full on before he buries them and the people that they know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Thanks for the call, Jordan. I don't know either. I'm a bit skeptical, but I suppose anything is possible. Just in terms of the information and who had what and who was covering their tracks and who wasn't. There's, again, because this has been going on so long and because there are many victims who have made many assertions, we have a lot in the public domain. Like this from Epstein accuser Maria Farmer. about how everything was recorded at least all of Les Wexner's houses that Epstein was given free reign to use.
When I asked why they recorded everything all the time, I said, is Wexner really paranoid? And he said, yeah, Epstein said, yeah, that's one way of saying it. He keeps everything. He records it all. He said, I record everything, and I keep it for Wexner in the safe. So the first house I go to has pinhole cameras. Jeffrey's showing me. He's really proud of them. Second house I go to has pinhole cameras. He says, Wexner gave me this house for $1. Wexner gave me this for $1. Then I go to the apartment. They had pinhole cameras in the Victoria's Secret dressing room. Now, just to fast forward, when I was in Wexner's house, there were cameras there were pinhole cameras throughout that thing. And Jeffrey, again, is like, oh, look at all the pinhole cameras. And Ghislaine says, you need to be careful. We can see everything. When I would go to the restroom or take a shower or anything, Ghislaine would call me, and from the speaker, and this is in New York, sometimes in London, in different places, she would say, get out of the loo, get off the toilet. She would start screaming at me.
Maybe, Les Wexner is still alive, and I think he's like 87 or 88 years old. Maybe there's another guy that should be brought before a congressional committee to tell his story, willingly or unwillingly, like Ghislaine Maxwell now wants to do willingly. All right, we'll take a cleansing breath, take some direction from Trump, and at least temporarily move on from Epstein. At 6:36, John Tamny joins us to talk about money and markets. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. People convicted of fentanyl-related crimes can now face harsher penalties.
This after President Trump signed a bill Wednesday targeting fentanyl trafficking.
And illicit drugs decimated American communities and left us with the largest law enforcement challenge in our country's history.
Families impacted by the fentanyl crisis stood behind Trump at the White House bill signing ceremony. Trump said his administration has declared an all-out war against dealers and traffickers. The Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act classifies all fentanyl-related substances as Schedule I drugs. That means harsher penalties for people convicted of fentanyl-related crimes. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Senate Republicans are giving the thumbs up to cutting funding for public broadcasting, global health programs, and some more foreign aid. Lawmakers narrowly passed a package early this morning that would take $9 billion in spending that already has been approved. It's part of the efforts of the Department of Government Efficiency that used to be run by billionaire Elon Musk. Now the measure goes back to the House for approval before heading to the president's desk for a signature. If that happens, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds NPR and PBS, would lose funding along with the World Health Organization and the U.S. Agency for International Development. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Are you over the age of 55 and want to secure your wealth with physical gold and silver? We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold company in America. We have been helping investors take their 401ks and retirement accounts and diversify them into physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. Call us right now, 800-900-8000. Just call 800-900-8000 and claim your free gold investing starter kit. Also learn how you might qualify for up to $10,000 in free gold and silver. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your tax or financial advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
Let me take a moment to talk about one of our loyal sponsors, QC Kinetics, Regenerative Medicine. You've been hearing their ads on the station for 2 years, and the response from listeners has been exciting and emotional. So many are getting relief from chronic joint pain thanks to stem cell therapy from QC Kinetics. In fact, 92% of patients report satisfaction with their results. Even Joe Rogan loves it. AM 560 listener Tracy is proud to report she is a new QC Kinetics customer. If you're stuck in a cycle of painful steroid shots and considering surgery, stop now and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation to learn how regenerative medicine, using your own body's biologic healing properties, can help your body heal itself. This is advanced cellular therapy. It doesn't cost anything for a second opinion. Weekend appointments are available. This could be life-changing, so call today to learn more and see if you're a candidate. Call 312-809-5955. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, 13 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 8 minutes, 11 minutes outbound. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 17 minutes outbound, 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes outbound, 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Straight Talk might not be on your shopping list, but it should be. Next time you're grabbing some milk off the shelf at your local Walmart, stop by the Straight Talk aisle and switch to real unlimited data. It's quick and convenient. It won't even take up room in your cart. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a passing shower early, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow brings pleasant weather with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Kevin Warsh, former Federal Reserve Board governor, and possibly Trump's choice to replace Jerome Powell, most likely not before next May when Powell's term expires. He was on Bartiromo over the weekend talking about Powell's performance and whether or not interest rates should be cut, since this seems to be one of Trump's hobby horses, but not his alone. And here's what Kevin Warsh had to say.
So the president's right to be frustrated with the Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve. Inflation comes when the government spends too much. That's the spending you're talking about, and prints too much. And the government's done just that thing over the last 4 or 5 years. The government needs to put its fiscal house in order and its monetary house in order. The president took a good shot at putting the fiscal house in order through this tax bill. We're going to grow a lot more than the Congressional Budget Office says. The U.S. is on the cusp of, I think, a radical improvement in our productive capacity. The tax bill is part of it. Deregulatory policy is part of it. Spending reductions are part of it. And the Fed needs to get on board.
I mean, look, President Trump is doing his part. I mean, a lot of hysteria over his tariffs, and yet look what just happened. The tariffs actually brought in $27 billion for the month, customs duties. You're talking about $100 billion on an annualized basis for tariffs, and we have a budget surplus for the month of June. Should the Federal Reserve be cutting interest rates right now?
So in a word, yes. Maria, it's quite simple. Why is it that money and financial conditions are so loose on Wall Street and considerably tighter on Main Street? Because the Fed has the policy mix exactly wrong. It has a big balance sheet like we're in the 2008 crisis or the 2020 pandemic, and has rates that are too high. It needs to shrink the Fed balance sheet and cut interest rates. In so doing, Main Street can get a much lower cost of credit. First-time home buyers can find their way into houses, and the policy mix would be right. I don't know if I'm just saying that because I grew up 200 miles from here in a sort of place far from the bright lights and big city. But Main Street needs to get its break, and it's high time they do it, and the Fed can be part of that.
I played those clips mainly to enrage our next guest, John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, the author of the book The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So, how do you respond to Kevin Warsh, and please do weigh in on the Jay Powell's future, because this is what CNBC obsesses about.
Oh wow, books could be written about what Warsh said. There's just so much incorrect there. Inflation's one thing; it's one thing only. It's a devaluation of the currency. I think government spending is the worst tax of all. It's the biggest barrier to economic growth, but it has nothing to do with inflation. And so when you listen to Warsh make arguments like that, you really wonder, and you're reminded of what they said about central bankers long ago, what Walter Bagehot said: it attracts vain men. Warsh is willing to say anything. Same with Kevin Hassett. They're all willing to say anything to get nominated. And when we know what the truth is, central banks, presidents can't alter market reality. Interest rates are what they are. Central banks can't change that. I'll just add one thing. Who is the richest man in the world? Elon Musk. Let's point him out, because when his businesses were struggling in the 21st century, when interest rates were at zero, he couldn't get anyone to lend him money. He couldn't get any equity finance. Yet these guys all act as though the Fed can just decree credit cheap and it will be there. That's not how the world works.
Well, that's I'm glad you used that illustration, because that's what you mean when you say interest rates don't matter, in the sense that you can set them artificially. But, it's sort of that you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him lend kind of thing.
Well, absolutely. Isn't it funny how our side, it's just accepted wisdom on the right that, well, rent controls don't work. When they've tried them in cities, you can artificially set the price of something really low, but the supply will naturally not be there. Yet somehow with interest rates, somehow with the cost of accessing dollars, which gets you access to every market good in the world, somehow with that, the Fed can make that just cheap by decree. Where's the outrage? Where is the disdain for these people who would say this? And I would add, Kevin Warsh is married to the daughter of a billionaire. Why does he want this job so badly? What is so great about being Fed chairman that you would give up any sort of principles that you have, any beliefs in rational thought? Why would you say anything to get this job? What's so great about it?
Well, I mean, it's it's status. I mean, look at. I mean, we talked about this a bit. When did we? Oh, a bit the other day with our friend Frank, the history teacher. I mean, look at Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan, was Leonard Peikoff's buddy He was a Randian, and look what happened to him when he became Fed chairman. But he still wanted it. I mean, he comes from a Randian perspective. You think he would be a little bit skeptical of central bankers, but then he became one, and he rather enjoyed the creature comforts.
No, you're absolutely right. I can say at least with Greenspan is he was at least still somewhat lesser known. He wasn't married to the daughter of the L'Oreal.
He was married to Andrea Mitchell at NBC News.
That was after he got.
That's
her.
true.
The status won him Andrea Mitchell, but look, I hear
what
you.
A prize! What a payoff!
Yeah, I mean, why does Scott Bessent? He's worth how much? Why did he want the Treasury job so badly when you then, once you're in that position, have to say so much that is so completely ridiculous? Kevin Hassett was saying the other day that, well, actually tariffs aren't really causing rising prices. Americans feel patriotic buying American. I mean, he knows that's utter nonsense. All to get the Fed position? I don't understand these people.
Well, and by the way, you're not offering any defense to Jay Powell's tenure as Fed Reserve Chairman either, because you're really not offering much in the way of legitimacy to any Fed chairman, is my understanding.
Absolutely. This isn't me defending Powell. It's just me saying that Powell or whomever replaces him can't alter reality. I mean, think about what your reaction to me would be if I came on and said, oh, Dan, Apple's charging too much for its MacBooks, and so here's what the price would be. You would laugh at me. You'd look at me like I had one eyebrow. Yet somehow these people go on national TV consistently and talk about what the price of credit should be. The price of credit is different for every single individual on Earth. It's different for every single different corporation. Warsh is surprised that the price of credit on, quote, Main Street is different from Wall Street. Well, why should he be surprised by that? That's only natural. People on Main Street theoretically don't have the means to pay back monies borrowed as easily as people on Wall Street. Of course there's a different price, and the Fed can't change that.
On the issue of tariffs, just to build off some of what you're hearing from the Trump administration, including Bessent, and it was mentioned by Bartiromo there. This from the Financial Times. America's trading partners have largely failed to retaliate against Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, allowing the president, taunted for always chickening out, to raise nearly $50 billion in extra customs revenues at little cost. 4 months since Trump fired the opening salvo, only China and Canada have dared to hit back at Washington, imposing a minimum 10% global tariff, 50% levies on steel and aluminum, 25% on autos. At the same time, the U.S. revenues for customs duties hit record high of $64 billion in the second quarter, $47 billion more than over the same period last year. China's retaliatory tariffs, the most sustained and significant of any country, have not had the same effect, with overall income from customs duties only 1.9% higher in May of 2025 for the Chinese communists than the year before. So, John, we're winning.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that interesting? Our side has historically been, well, we're for limited government. But I have yet to meet a Republican who doesn't cheer for more tax revenue. I'm so confused. And again, you and I could get into the obvious that if you put taxes on imports, that's not a winning thing. That just means that we're less reliant, we're less engaged, we're less tessellated, we're working less with the rest of the world. And when you're dividing up work with fewer people around the world, you're naturally less productive. Doesn't anyone remember Adam Smith's pin factory? One man working alone could maybe produce a pin per day, but 10 men working together could produce tens of thousands. There's value in people dividing up work globally, but suddenly that doesn't matter anymore either. More government revenue. And for what? What will the government do with it?
Well, I mean, they're going to return it to the taxpayers, of course. I mean, I know. Everything is, is the references, and this is from Republicans too. We saw this with the BBB. We're seeing it to some extent with, this momentous rescissions package that needs to get through the House by tomorrow, so we can cut $9 billion that was already allocated out of a $6 trillion, $7 trillion budget, and declare ourselves fiscal conservatives. But just on the government spending side, because Milton Friedman said something back in the day that I think I mean, I could explain it, but I'm going to defer to you. It's really important because it focuses your attention on the thing that matters, and forces an understanding that is sometimes difficult to grasp because of all of the bloviations and all of the sort of the politically angled misstatements that come from really both sides. But I just wanted to play this Uncle Milty classic and get your distillation of it.
As I said before, keep your eye on one thing and one thing only, how much government is spending, because that's the true tax. Every budget is balanced. There is no such thing as an unbalanced federal budget. You're paying for it. If you're not paying for it through it in the form of explicit taxes, you're paying for it indirectly in the form of inflation or in the form of borrowing. The thing you should keep your eye on is what government spends. And the real problem is to hold down government spending as a fraction of our income. And if you do that, you can stop worrying about the debt.
I love the part about that I love the most because it's become one of the biggest and most repeated lies and stupid debates is this idea of we passed a balanced budget, so we have an unbalanced budget. We have a budget deficit. We need to close the deficit to get to a balanced budget. There's no such thing as an unbalanced budget.
Well, absolutely. And can I add that a balanced budget in the United States, whereby you have access to the production of the most innovative and enterprising people on earth, is the equivalent of slam dunking on a 5-foot basket when you're 6 feet tall. I mean, who couldn't? You're getting in enormous amount of revenues. Now, to Friedman's point, it's all balanced. It's just one. You're either borrowing it or you're taxing it, but you're getting the money, and that's truth. The stuff about inflation, that's utter nonsense. But the simple truth that what we should focus on is the extraction. It doesn't matter whether it's taken away in taxes or through borrowing. The extraction is the problem. That is the burden right now. But it's an unseen burden. We don't know all the wealth we're not creating. We don't know all the health advances not occurring. We don't know all the transportation advances not taking place. We don't know all the amazing jobs we're not doing because government's extracting so much. And so that's what we should focus on, but no one does.
John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me. And
he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551. 1551.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family owned, integrity since 1981.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
Hey, it's your favorite car dealer, Honest Eddie. Is it true that there are no employees at Hassleus Mattress?
It's true. Give the mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy. And through Monday, get additional instant savings of $248 off Sealy Posturepedic and Beauty Rest.
Son, you gotta pressure people. Like, what do I have to do to get you into a new mattress today?
Uh-oh, you're breaking up. Gotta go.
Wait, no, let me talk to my manager.
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassleus.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
It's hard to find a nursing home where Christ-centered care is provided. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has served the needs of seniors at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights. With chaplains on full-time duty, the Lutheran Home provides spiritual support as your loved ones confront the hard realities of aging. Our nurses will care for your bodies, and our chaplains will care for your souls. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
Looks like PBS and NPR are going to have to sell more tote bags. We'll talk about the rescission we were just discussing in part with John Tamney at 7:07, and the return of Catherine Maher to the airwaves, which is always fun. It is now 7 o'clock, AM 560, WIND Chicago.
It goes back to the House. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. An amended bill the Senate passed after 2 o'clock this morning, canceling more than $9 billion in federal funding already approved, targeted as wasteful by DOJ. Majority Leader John Thune tells Fox.
0.1% of all federal spending, but it's a step in the right direction.
This is money for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and also USAID. This bill was about $9.4 billion in cuts, but restored money for the global AIDS program known as PEPFAR.
Fox's Chad Bergen with the Capitol. 2 Republicans, Senators Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, joined Democrats voting no, concerned the cuts to NPR and PBS could harm rural areas. Late last night in the House, Republicans advanced 3 cryptocurrency regulation bills toward final passage maybe today. Also in the House, more Democrats are backing the controversial nominee to be New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani, who met with Democrats in Washington yesterday, including Congressman Ro Khanna, who just told Fox,
I will endorse him. Look, he's a very charismatic, relatable person, and he spent a lot of time talking about the cost of living in New York, in this country, and how we address it.
Some Democrats have not backed Mamdani and his progressive agenda and allegations he's anti-Semitic. President Trump calls Mamdani a communist. There are flood watches and warnings in southern Louisiana as a storm that could become a tropical depression soaks the region with a foot of rain forecast in some areas. Lightning struck an archery range in New Jersey, killing a man, injuring more than a dozen others.
Witnesses started performing CPR on the man before first responders arrived, their efforts to no avail. The other victims are all expected to recover.
Fox's Gary Baumgarten. A singer who made history topping the charts has died. Connie Francis had a #1 hit with that song in 1960, becoming the first woman to top the Billboard Hot 100. Connie Francis was 87. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Mayor Johnson's veto of the controversial SNAP curfew ordinance is being upheld. Johnson celebrated after the city council fell 6 votes shy of overriding his veto yesterday.
There is no study that we have seen, or frankly anyone in Chicago has seen, that says that these type of measures and curfews will keep young people safe.
The council passed the curfew last month in an effort to crack down on teen takeovers downtown. That's where they shut down the streets, do burnouts, all sorts of stuff. The whole thing all pretty much came down to when a tourist got shot. The measure would have given Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Schnelling the ability to issue curfews anytime, anywhere in the city within 30 minutes notice. Johnson added a SNAP curfew could have opened the city up to costly lawsuits. Another group of former juvenile detainees are making claims that they were sexually abused at youth centers across the state. Charles Graves was one of 100 new individuals who filed complaints against the state and Cook County.
I was sexually assaulted by 3 officers throughout my time in the juvenile correctional system in the state of Illinois. The abuse caused me mental and emotional trauma. For years, I had nightmares about the abuse.
The newest plaintiffs joined the 800 other victims who have filed lawsuits in the last 14 months. The complaints claim the abuse took place as far back as 1996 and as recent as 2023. News is a service of Air Ride Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Ride Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Charlie Kirk explains what we're about to see from the left.
Remember, the left will always exploit an alleged emergency. Remember, during COVID, if we don't lock down the schools, kids are going to die. If we do not have sweeping quasi-amnesty, we'll starve and our businesses will collapse. I'm sorry, I don't believe you anymore when you come to these incredibly hyperbolic emergency-type signals.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should
see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird. All right.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
We're in a fight right now for the future of Western civilization and for the preservation of free speech. And I view all of my commentary work and all of my interests in the American political system through that lens.
CNN political analyst Scott Jennings talking about his presentation at this year's Issues Etc. Making the Case conference.
We have to preserve Western civilization. We have to preserve free speech. And I think most issues and most politics comes down to those two fundamental issues. I think it's good for audiences to have their bubbles popped. I think it's all too easy in American political culture right now to get yourself in a silo or in a bubble where only the information that you want to hear that confirms your priors is what you see. And I think it's detrimental to the average citizen to be stuck in a silo or a bubble like that.
You can meet and hear Scott Jennings at the 2025 Making the Case conference Friday, July 18th and Saturday, July 19th at Concordia University, Chicago. Find out more at issuesetc.org.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, 13 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 15 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 23 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes. Outbound, 17 minutes. On the Dan Bryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a passing shower early, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow brings pleasant weather with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so the rescission package over in the House needs to get moved by tomorrow in order to claw back those dollars, including about $1 billion for PBS and NPR. And of course, you have the customary hue and cry from the public television flacks, government television, state-run media flacks, more accurate. I misspoke when I said it looks like PBS and NPR are going to have to sell more tote bags because, of course, they don't sell anything. Going to have to gift more tote bags in thanks for your donation to these nonprofits, NPR and PBS. These nonprofits where Catherine Maher, the head of NPR, makes $1 million as the CEO. And it's fun to have her back on the news desks at places like CNN, knowingly lying about things she's previously knowingly lied about. And you get the same sophistry. I mean, it is just rinse and repeat year after year, hearing after hearing, show appearance after show appearance, but it's fun because you get to bring up all the other examples. So I'm so glad that she is back out there trying to sing for her supper, as it were. They need that money. Catherine Maher, under intense questioning from Wolf Blitzer and company over at CNN. Where do we have Catherine Maher?
What do you say to Republicans who argue the funding is a waste of taxpayer dollars and consider your outlet to be a biased propaganda machine?
Well, I would take those two things apart. Number one, 70% of all funding goes directly to local stations. NPR receives 1 to 2% of national funding on an annual basis. We're talking $3 million, $5 million. It's not much. I think, unfortunately, this is cutting off their constituents' noses to spite NPR's face. It doesn't help anyone to take this funding away. As far as the accusations that we're biased, I would stand up and say, please show me a story that concerns you, because we want to know and we want to bring that conversation back to our newsroom. We believe that as a public broadcaster, we do have an obligation to serve all Americans, and we need to make sure that our coverage reflects the interests and perspective, and we hear from Americans across the political spectrum. That's important to us, and we want to make sure we live up to that.
Of course. Please. Show me one example or show me examples of these stories so we can hurriedly address them. Okay, well, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana will be your huckleberry there, Catherine Maher. He posted a thread on X in response to that statement you just heard from Maher, who has previously made just incredible statements about the truth not getting in the way of progress and so on and so forth. As a alleged journalist or the CEO of an outfit that alleges to be journalistic in orientation. John Kennedy, just a few. I won't even go into the bites. NPR reported that country music and birds are racist, told American people to stop eating beef, and promoted the Russiagate conspiracy. Writes John Kennedy on X. No person with a brain above a single-celled organism would call these articles fair and balanced. And he, by the way, gave a full presentation with all sorts of poster boards and illustrations of all of the hard left propaganda from NPR and PBS, for that matter. I mean, this comes as a surprise to no one who's fair-minded at all, but of course Catherine Maher is a propagandist trying to protect her fellow propagandists. Understand. NPR claimed President Biden's presidential debate performance didn't change the election days before he dropped out of the race. I mean, he's got the articles. NPR reported there's no evidence that biological men have an unfair advantage over biological women in sports. They called America's interstate highways racist. Well, Mayor Pete did, so they're just repeating as they're duty-bound to do. NPR referred to rural Americans as quote-unquote Christian nationalists, and he heaped praise on Biden administration's official Rachel Levin. Writes Senator Kennedy, I could go all day. American taxpayers shouldn't have to fund this opinion journalism. But of course, as the point that we made on this show, I make all the time, is taxpayers shouldn't be forced to fund any media. Any media. On principle, categorically. And if that means the NPR Times, that pamphlet in the city of Chicago, goes away, well, so be it. Why don't you use this opportunity to demagogue your handful of readers into kicking in another $50 so that you can keep going, right? Gaslight them with stories of coming authoritarianism about Trump, and I'm sure they'll donate a little bit more of their Social Security check to your $1 million salary there, Catherine Maher. But, of course, it's worse than that. I mean, this is back when Maher was before congressional committees. This exchange with Jim Jordan. I mean, just instant classic. So I appreciate, again, her making the rounds so that we can do the same. Just Jim Jordan going over the ideological diversity over at NPR, which is to say, zero.
How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. They said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yeah.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and they said, Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake.
Now.
Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, we became fervent members of the team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Of course.
Nonpartisan organization.
Yeah, nonpartisan organization. It says it right here. We're a nonpartisan organization. No, and to the extent you have stories like John Kennedy or like Jim Jordan, Catherine Maher is very concerned about those things, and she is going to get right to work to make sure that the great distribution of American viewpoints are reflected in the coverage at NPR. Right. I mean, Uri Berliner was the last honest man to be employed at NPR or PBS. By the way, in that same exchange, Jim Jordan goes on to challenge the maturity, the degree of willful blindness of Catherine Maher. She said he asked her if NPR is biased. She says she's never seen any political bias. That's not the Joe Biden I know. That's not the NPR I know. Editorial positions at NPR in D.C., 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. 87-0. It's a shutout. It's impressive. And, of course, that always prompts the question, Ms. Maher, do you think NPR's coverage would be any different in D.C. if it was 87-0 Republicans that comprise the editorial staff? And then that's when you get her to say, oh, yeah, I don't, we're a nonpartisan organization. I have never seen any bias. You just continue to, like a chatbot. She just continues to say the same thing, non-responsive responses. Well, that's not to say that everybody feels the same way on this. We here do, unlike NPR, represent the great span of opinion on these things. And so I'd like to introduce you to David French, the new and improved David French. He is a retired Christian conservative. Now speaking of chatbots, now he's an MSNBC chatbot. I didn't say I was going to agree with him. I just said I'm going to introduce you to him. But of course, you remember him from his days at National Review and sort of his on again, off again, never Trumpism until he went fully never Trump. And then went full Adam Kinzinger, basically. It's incredible. Well, he is very concerned about defunding NPR. It has all the earmarks of authoritarianism to hear David French tell the story.
How much the NPR case is escalating a nationwide culture attack on free speech?
Yeah, I've not seen anything like this in my adult lifetime. I think we're looking at a comprehensive attack on free speech that is maybe most reminiscent of the Red Scare. And, the one thing that is so particularly pernicious about it is that Donald Trump is very shrewd, politically shrewd in his attack. He's taking on a lot of institutions that a lot of Americans don't like. So, for example, elite universities. You're not exactly going to get millions of Americans in the streets for elite universities universities, or white shoe law firms. People aren't going to be in the streets for white shoe law firms, or for big media outlets where he sued them for defamation, et cetera, or retaliated against them. So he's choosing many of these politically unpopular targets, but that's the classic move of the censors. If you go back to the Red Scare, this was a frontal attack on free speech aimed at some of the least popular speech in America. This is how authoritarianism begins. It begins not by taking on the popular voices. It begins by taking on the unpopular voices. And I'm not saying that NPR doesn't have millions of listeners, and there aren't many people who love Harvard, but these institutions are very much in the crosshairs of Trump's base. So he's playing to his base here, which makes it politically sustainable, even while it's a direct attack on the Constitution. And its political popularity, at least amongst his base, is what makes this so dangerous. He has a lot of the public wind at his back when he's doing it, and then he's turning around and vilifying the judges who are standing up against him. And so he's creating a very, very dangerous dynamic here.
That's just stunning. That really is a stunning argument to hear from David French, even though I know full well of his 180s across the board. It is just so weak. It is so pathetic. It is so sentimental in orientation. Unconstitutional. The legislation that created the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was enacted in 1967 by LBJ. This is not something that is enshrined in the Constitution. Free speech, the forced extraction of other people's resources to finance a state-run media outlet. That's your definition of free speech. If we did the same thing for a church, what would you say, David? It's just remarkable, the sophistry with which people who clearly know better, the sophistry they will sink to employ in order to score cheap political points or have a phony baloney contributor gig on MSNBC. The hallmark of authoritarianism is not, hey, I'm not forcing people to pay for somebody else's student loans. I'm not forcing people to pay for a news outlet that they may or may not. And then the judges thing, too, which is just another cheap shot. Yeah, he's decrying some judicial decisions while he's using the courts to fight for his. So that's called the process. You're not allowed to be critical of judges, even though you're abiding decisions and appealing the decisions, and even as you're appealing them, if they're not a decision you like, which is, of course, provided by the system. It's just stunning. We get this idea because something exists now. It's existed forever, and it's enshrined in the Constitution. It's part of the fabric of our democracy. It's nothing of the sort. How does this even make any sense that we have this? I'm talking about formerly state-run media and state-financed media, and the percentages, the fraction of what it represents in the budget, or the fraction of the federal budget, or the fraction of what it represents to the budgets of NPR and PBS. I don't care. It shouldn't be 1 red cent. That's the principle of the matter. And I would say the same thing if there were conservative news outlets that were seeking sustained public government support, taxpayer support. No. You have to come up with your own revenue model. You have to come up with your own way of funding your business. Remarkable. And the idea constitutional, again, I mean, first of all, David, we needed Marconi and Farnsworth to invent radio and TV in the first place, didn't we? So obviously it's not right in our Constitution. Founders weren't so worried about radio and TV and making sure that we had a state-run, state-financed radio and TV stations around the country. Hey, Keith in Morton Grove.
Morning, Dan. Can I just say thank you? That is not free speech right there. I actually wanted to call and talk about the Epstein thing, but I just wanted to comment about the PBS real quick. My grandma donated her hard-earned money. When she passed away, my mom felt bad, and she felt she needed to carry on the tradition. And I started doing a little bit of research, and I've been sending her stuff about what they've been publishing on their airways about Sesame Street and involving gay pride and transgender movies and stuff. And how is that bipartisan? But as far as the Epstein, haven't we seen this before? I mean, in 2022, Playboy came out with the documentary with Hugh Hefner, and his whole thing was he would film everybody everywhere, and he used that for blackmail, for whatever else he needed to do. And I just think a lot of people need to take a look at Virginia Guthrie's message before she died.
Yeah, all right. I want to stick on NPR, but I appreciate the call, Keith. I mean, just on this matter of the bipartisan, the bias, and so on and so forth. I don't care if the D.C. office of NPR was 43-43, evenly distributed between Republicans and Democrats. I don't care if they hadn't done all the stories that John Kennedy detailed and had been wrong on all the big stories that Jim Jordan detailed. I don't care. I still don't want to pay for it. I still don't want to be forced to pay for it. It still shouldn't exist. Even if they were playing it down the middle or attempting to, which they're not, but even if they were, that's the principle of matter. State-run media. It's the opposite of a free press. I don't know why we just don't make that simple argument and just make it over and over again. I don't want any of it. You want the hysterics of an NPR or a PBS, or they want to reform themselves to appeal to a wider audience. You figure it out. That's a private citizen enterprise and activity. But of course, nothing could be further from the truth. But they sort of make this argument like, if this was true, then we would all agree. No, I don't agree. If they were playing it down the middle, if it was evenly distributed in terms of staff positions to Republicans and Democrats, then we'd all support it. No, we wouldn't. I wouldn't. But Catherine Maher is a joke. That's the other thing. The whole thing is so insulting. We're forced to pay Catherine Maher to lie about PBS. I mean, it's about NPR in her case, I should say. Just lie about the content. She's a stooge. I mean, this exchange, Brandon Gill, our friend from Texas, during those same congressional hearings when she was telling Jim Jordan that it's a nonpartisan organization. And if it was, it's not, but if it was, I still wouldn't care. No money. But it was even more fun, Brandon Gill doing what he does, going through her old tweets to expose just how not nonpartisan Catherine Maher is.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved.
Of
Why
5
did you
years.
tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You
Don't know what
tweeted
statement
that in
comes from.
reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said...
Doesn't mean I read it.
Off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall.
Exactly. I can't remember everything I did read or not read and tweet or not tweet about it. I've undergone a real metamorphosis, Kafkaesque, over the last 5 years. From 38 to 43. Transformative time for me. Representative. I mean, Good grief, these people. Michael, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. Catherine, you're right on all points. I just want to make another point. Catherine Maher's hypocrisy is stunning. She said that the potential cuts would hurt rural stations. And I'm thinking, since when did NPR ever care about rural Americans?
Right. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Michael. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Well, since the left uses NPR to proselytize people into the religion of the left, it's actually defunding it you can use the argument for separation of church and state, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kevin. All right, coming up at 7:37, we'll be joined by Michael Baharine, who's the chief political analyst at the Liberal Patriot. There's a new look that he's offered on just the details of Trump's win, how comprehensive it was back in November, the potential political realignment that's happening, and whether he thinks it will sustain post-Trump. We'll get his take on that, and also where the center of gravity is on the left. There's a lot of incumbent politicians now rallying around Mr. Mamdani in New York City. What does that portend for the brand of that party going into 2026 and beyond? That's at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Speculation on the future of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell had Wall Street experiencing whiplash on Wednesday.
Initial reports that Trump's firing of Powell seemed imminent came out during morning trading, sparking a mini sell-off. But when Trump clarified that he had no plans to fire Powell, the markets quickly rebounded, proving the old axiom that investors like certainty. The president has been highly critical of Powell's refusal to cut interest rates. I'm Brian Shook.
A new report out of Britain says dogs can smell Parkinson's.
The study published this week says 2 specially trained dogs were given hundreds of skin swabs to sniff and were able to correctly identify Parkinson's disease in up to 80% of patients who had the neurological disorder. The golden retrievers were also 90% accurate in ruling out healthy patients. The report says the findings could be a breakthrough, as doctors currently have no definitive diagnostic test to screen for Parkinson's, which is usually not detected until symptoms appear. I'm Mark Mayfield.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louis found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louis has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louis.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes, 13 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 15 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 23 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 23 minutes. Outbound, 17 minutes. On the Dan Bryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. It's cake batter, it's cookie dough. It's the new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat, now at participating DQ locations. For a limited time, fly in today for this cosmic collision of flavor, and don't miss Superman in theaters now. DQ, happy tastes good. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a brief shower in spots early this morning, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow looks pleasant with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Zohran Mamdani, the populist, socialist candidate for mayor of New York City, leading candidate. I know handsy Andy Cuomo is sticking in, and Eric Adams is there too, and Eric Adams raised a bit of money, but I think you still have to like Mamdani's chances, particularly if the party rallied around him. And it seems like that's happening. Yeah, there's been some criticisms from financiers like Bill Ackman and some concerns about what Mamdani's policies would mean for New York City's quality of life. We should know all about that because they're the same policies that are being pursued by Brandon Johnson for the last 2 years. I love the fact that the people, the Eastern Seaboard, have not taken notice of some of the other mayors of major urban centers and what they've been doing, which is maybe the rhetoric is slightly toned down from Mamdani's, but just slightly. Brandon Scott in Baltimore. Many we've gone through. Previous mayor of St. Louis. Now, there's been some replacements recently that were still Democrats, but who are taking a bit of a different approach, like Lurie in San Francisco that we've discussed, but sort of an outlier, really. But in terms of Mamdani, Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, is resisting endorsing him. He's sort of trying to middle it. I don't really know him well enough to endorse him. Well, you should get to know him. Make a decision. No, I don't want to. I got it. Understood. But when it comes to the Socialist Spice Girls, that's a different story. And that's where the energy is. And importantly, that's where the mother's milk is. Pardon my Jesse Unruh, but I'm talking about the money. The halls here, this from MSNBC. Left-wing firebrand's massive fundraising halls leave vulnerable House Dems in the dust. AOC, almost $6 million in the second quarter. Jasmine Crockett, $2 million in the second quarter, as compared to the halls for a lot of Dems in swing districts around the country, where they're, under $500,000 or less in terms of their quarterly number. It's a big difference. And the money does matter, but it also signals something, where the energy is. Well, they're rallying around where the energy is, rallying around Mamdani. Pramila Jayapal, formerly the head of the Socialist Spice Girls Caucus, or whatever they call themselves, had this to say about Mamdani. She's excited.
Yeah, he's bringing the party together at this point. Look, he's bringing anybody who can see the reality of the success of his candidacy and his campaign together. Anybody that's staying out at this point instead of endorsing this incredible dynamic leader is missing an opportunity.
Do you think he won over any of the new members who weren't supporting him or on the fence?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you think he won over any members?
Oh, I think it's hard not to be won over because it's the combination of his authenticity, his smarts, and his commitment to lifting up working people and making life better for real folks that is really inspiring and not always easy to find, and so I hope so. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, looking forward to that city-run grocery store. Michael Bahrain is the chief political analyst at the Liberal Patriot. You can also get his writings at michaelbahrain.substack.com. Michael, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you.
So, I've been reading the Liberal Patriot, your work, John Halpin's and Ruy Teixeira's for a while. And this Mamdani incursion, if you will, into the political realm and surprise to some, victory in New York is really roiling Democrats. But you're hearing a lot of talk about it's a big tent. It needs to be, from the DNC chairman, from David Axelrod, from members of Congress now like Pramila Jayapal. So they're getting more and more comfortable with Mamdani, it would seem to me. And does this create a ongoing brand problem for the larger party within the larger national electorate?
Well, I don't think it helps, to be sure. I think Democrats are sort of still licking their wounds from last year's election and trying to figure out, where do they go? How do they fix this problem that seems to be that they've lost a lot of their working class support, voters who had long been in their coalition and, have been bleeding to Trump over the last three elections. And so, unfortunately, I think in the New York City example, you had a situation where a lot of people didn't take Mamdani very seriously until the very end, by which point, it was too late to really highlight for voters a lot of the things that would maybe make them a little more nervous. And so he kind of had a clear path to sort of, discard, ignore a lot of the past kind of controversial statements he had made and just talk about things that admittedly people wanted to hear about. He was talking about cost of living. He was talking about a lot of the same stuff that Republicans talked about last year. And it resonated beyond just kind of the, they call it the socialist corridor of Brooklynites in New York City. And it went to a lot of working class voters. He still didn't win majority support in that first round of voting. It looks like based on early polls, he's not going to win majority support probably in the general election either. But he's got kind of this high floor that nobody else has been able to match. So he's speaking to something that people, really it resonates with them. Their cost of living issues, especially in a city like New York. The problem, though, for the Democrats is that, this was a low turnout primary election. 1 in 10 Democrats voted there in New York City, and it's a deep blue city, and to be thinking that what happened in New York maybe gives them ideas of what they should be doing nationally, I think is probably not wise at this point.
Now, I mean, to be fair, some other races that are, in full competition at this point, like governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia. The Virginia race is somewhat interesting too. Now going the other direction, Abigail Spanberger seems to have opened a double-digit lead on the incumbent Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, and Spanberger is not a moderate. I mean, not if you look at her voting record and compare it to people like Nancy Pelosi and AOC, but she's presented as a moderate. She presents as a moderate. The press corps in D.C. characterizes her as a moderate Democrat, and she seems to be doing pretty well in that state. So even perhaps wearing the cloak of a moderate, even if the sort of underlying substance is in conflict, maybe that's the way forward for the Democrats?
Well, yeah, there's a faction of the party that seems to understand, coming out of last year's election that, they have a cultural problem, they have a perception problem where, they just are seen as kind of out of touch with the median American. And, Spanberger, for better or worse, she has always kind of been attuned to that because she represented a swing district in Virginia before she started her governor's campaign. Coming out of the 2020 election, even though Joe Biden won, I think folks maybe don't always remember, Joe Biden won 2020, but Democrats actually lost several swing House races that cycle. She survived, but a lot of the races that they lost were because they were getting hit. Those candidates were with defund the police ads. And shortly after the election, she went straight at the squad caucus within the party and said, we need to stop this stuff. This silly, rhetoric about defund the police, abolish prisons. This stuff is not helping us at all. Which, normal Americans kind of understand, but there were people in their caucus who, were in deep blue districts and didn't really have to worry about the political ramifications of stuff like that. So I think people, Democrats who are running in districts and in states where they have to appeal beyond just their base, they have to win some moderate voters, they may even have to win some Republican voters, they kind of understand that they have to, distance themselves from that kind of thing. And so I think it's probably, they're seeing, probably in the New York City mayoral race that probably not in their favor. Even Spanberger has kind of wavered on or obfuscated on questions about whether she supports Mamdani. So I think they get that it's a problem. Now, whether they, can present a viable alternate vision and kind of contrast themselves and say, no, we have a better way. We're still going to talk about cost of living and we're still going to present better ideas for people, but we're not going to embrace a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Mamdani's side of the party. That remains to be seen.
You did this piece for the Liberal Patriot on some recent Pew Research on sort of the demo splits in the 2024 Trump-Harris election. It's interesting, the vote margin shifts between 2020 and 2024. The double-digit shifts in Trump's direction, black men, Hispanic college, Hispanic non-college, Hispanic women, Asian non-college, lower income, black, men 30 to 49, black college educated, black non-college, 18 to 29, 30 to 44, and independents. All of those cohorts moved at least 10 points in Trump's direction in 2024 as compared to 2020. And so, there's been a lot of ink spilt about Trump making improvements with minority cohorts, voter cohorts, and this portends well for the Republican Party, and it gives lie to this idea that the Democrats had for a while, that sort of the changing racial demography of America means Democrat majorities for, a time immemorial going forward. But there's still this question of whether or not those gains can be sustained post-Trump, or if they're uniquely sort of a Trump dynamic and a combination of Trump and the choices in 16 and 20 and 24 dynamic. And what's your sense of that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So it's something that we're monitoring right now as well. You do see sort of in Trump's approval rating, since he took office when he was about 12 points above water, that is now flipped. And some of that has been driven by especially losses with Hispanics. But, these changes have happened during the Trump era, which now is going on 9 years. So you're kind of trying to parse out, well, how much of this is a longer term trend versus how much of this is related to Trump. But, the thing is, I think a lot of people they make the mistake of assuming that, minorities support Democrats because they agree with their social and cultural attitudes and they agree with them on a lot of policy. That is true in some case. But a lot of minority voters are actually quite moderate to socially conservative and have historically aligned themselves with the Democrats for kind of identity-based reasons. But as a lot of Black voters, Hispanics, Asians see themselves more as part of kind of the American project and as part of a broader national identity, as opposed to their kind of racial or ethnic identity, they've been starting to vote more their ideology. There's been a lot of post-election research that has suggested this. And, if they're more moderate, if they're more conservative, that may open the door for Republicans to make gains. Now, Black voters overall were still a heavily Democratic group in the last election, but Trump doubled his vote share with them. That's not nothing. And Hispanics specifically were essentially a swing group. Harris won them by less than 10 points, which is, not unheard of for a Democrat in modern times. Again, this maybe depends a little bit on how Trump's next 3 years in office go, if he's able to kind of win back some of the support that he's lost a little bit. But it does seem like there is evidence that these groups would probably be open to voting for Republicans down the road if the right Republican comes along and can show credibility with them.
Right. I mean, it seems there's more of an open-mindedness, more of a welcoming attitude going in both directions. And that's been to the benefit of Republicans. But I wonder, too, how much of it is just, look, so many of these urban centers where you have disproportionate percentages of minority residents and voters are sort of catastrophes. The quality of life just isn't particularly good. I mean, to me, this was sort of the basis for this abundance agenda that was raised as the path forward for the center left, and that you guys at the Liberal Patriot have been talking about for a while, but it's not really being embraced by politicians in those urban centers and including at the state level in some blue states.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that, as big cities have struggled, you have a lot of, especially working class residents who say, we've had this kind of same type of governance as long as we can remember. Nothing has improved. I mean, you saw the biggest gains for Trump coming in places like New York City, in Los Angeles, in big urban areas. I think of people who just said, we're going to try something different right now. So it kind of depends on, I think, how those cities start to be run in the future. I mean, as you've kind of pointed out, a lot of these big cities are still kind of doubling down on past ways of operating. And so, if they continue to exhibit poor results, you may see more and more inroads coming for future Republicans. It's the Democrats. This is one of their big issues coming out of 2024 is how do they better govern these cities? Because, if you don't have a city, if you don't run a city that people, want to move to and think, yeah, I see myself there. And instead people are trying to get out because it's unaffordable, because you have issues with crime, you have overcrowding, with new arrivals of immigrants, that kind of thing. That's not really a model that people might think, oh, yeah, we want to support the party that runs that. They're going to look to other cities that are better run, that tend to be run by moderate Democrats or even Republicans. So that's a big issue that this party's going to have to reckon with going forward for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's my contention, and I don't know where or when, but just with the trajectory of some of these cities and the performance of some of these mayors, particularly in a high-profile way, Karen Bass in L.A. comes to mind, Brandon Johnson in Chicago comes to mind, that there's going to be a surprise somewhere. There's going to be a candidate that doesn't just get close, as some have, like the L.A. mayor's race last go-around, that surprises and actually wins just because people have had enough.
Yeah. And I mean, you already have seen a little bit of evidence since 2020, right, in some of these West Coast cities. You know, San Francisco is kind of a high-profile example of both the mayoral race and the district attorney race there, where there was a pretty swift backlash to some of the lax crime measures that were put into place and some of the education stuff that was going on there as well. And I think you saw some backlash in places like Seattle as well. So, you know, and these are cities that are quite diverse, that have significant working class populations. It's kind of common with this theme that we're talking about here, you know. So, we'll see, you know, in places like Chicago and places like LA, you know, if governance continues to trend in the wrong direction, you know, you could be in for a surprise in one of these places.
Michael Bahrain, chief political analyst at the Liberal Patriot. You can also get his writings at michaelbahrain.substack.com. Michael, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
And he joins us in the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all your continued support. Mike has a passion to help get everyone the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. Mike is offering the best deal on his Percale bed sheets. You can get a set for as low as $24.98. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Go to MyPillow.com now and use promo code LIBERTY to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Order now or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
AM 560, The Answer.
So to my point there at the end with Michael Bahrain and the sort of antics that could set the stage for a surprise, maybe even in Chicago. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, and Brandon Johnson's always at the ready with one. The end of his presser yesterday.
All right. And this press conference needs to end with the voice of a young person. Serenia Jackson wants to come back up and lead us in a chant.
Repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. One more time. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect one another.
We must love and protect one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
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 Good job, y'all.
Yeah. Applaud for yourself. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to get off Animal Farm? Coming up at 8:08, we turn our attention to the reported AI job apocalypse that's coming. Mark Mills joins us. 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock, AM 560, WIND Chicago.
This hasn't happened since Bill Clinton was president. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Federal funding already approved, maybe canceled.
On this vote, the yeas are 51, the nays are 48.
That was at about 2 a.m. this morning when Republicans finally approved what's called a rescissions package targeting spending Doge called wasteful.
So this bill claws back $9 billion in foreign aid and public broadcasting that's already appropriated by Congress. So that cuts funding for NPR, PBS. However, the bill exempts $400 million for PEPFAR funding. The White House agreed to remove the popular AIDS relief program from the package.
Fox's Aisha Hasni at the Capitol. 2 Republicans joined, Democrats voting no, but the bill now goes back to the House to vote on the amended version. For the second time, a Comey has been fired. First, it was the FBI director back in 2017 in a clash with President Trump over the Russia investigation. Now it's James Comey's daughter, Maureen, who'd been a federal prosecutor in New York. And Republican Congressman Byron Donalds tells Fox,
well, it's about time. She hasn't really done that good of a job. And at the end of the day, President Trump wants results from every part of the administration, including the Department of Justice.
Maureen Comey had been part of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking prosecution. The rapper ended up not guilty on that charge and racketeering, but convicted on 2 lesser prostitution counts. Comey was also involved in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. As a controversy over that simmers, conservatives demand more information about Epstein's death, awaiting trial on charges of sex trafficking teenage girls. They don't believe a Justice Department conclusion that Epstein committed suicide, and they believe Epstein left behind a list of high-profile clients. The DOJ says there is no list.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
And President Trump posted on Truth Social they're weaklings. He doesn't want their support anymore. We just got news on the economy showing we shopped more than expected last month after a big decline in May. Retail sales rose 0.6%. Economists had predicted only a 1/10 increase. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Illinois Comptroller Susan Mendoza isn't running for re-election. The Chicago native announced yesterday that she isn't seeking a 4th term as the state's chief fiscal control officer.
It's been my truest honor and privilege to serve you in what has been the hardest and most fulfilling job I've had yet.
Mendoza didn't rule out a 2027 run for Chicago mayor and saying Chicago's in dire need of competency. The former state representative and Chicago city clerk unsuccessfully ran for mayor back in 2019. The Chicago City Council was not successful in its effort to override Mayor Johnson's veto of the proposed SNAP curfew. 34 votes were needed, but alders only came up with 27. Mayor Johnson says that the proposed SNAP curfew discriminates against young people, and he officially vetoed the measure before the start of yesterday's City Council meeting. The ordinance would have given the Chicago police superintendent the ability to declare a curfew within 30 minutes notice of a takeover, which is basically where they shut down the entire streets and do burnouts and all sorts of craziness. This came about because a tourist was shot during one of these takeovers. News is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. I check the roads coming up in 2 minutes. But now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
PepsiCo shares are up nearly 2%. The company's holding up better than expected, helped by demand for healthier beverages. Also, the weaker dollar makes its products more affordable outside the U.S. It's selling more energy drinks and healthier soda brands. In addition to sodas, PepsiCo makes Gatorade and Poppi. Volvo Car lost money in its recent quarter. Sales declined in the period. It had expenses involving restructuring. Jet engine maker GE Aerospace is reporting earnings that topped expectations, and it's raising its forecast for the year. Bristol Myers and Pfizer will be offering blood thinner Eliquis at a discount. The Wall Street Journal says the decision follows the Trump administration's pressure to cut drug prices. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosolda. Invested in you.
Mike Gallagher says, don't take it lightly.
You've got all hell breaking loose there between Elon and President Trump. He wants to form a third party?
And I got people in my life saying, it's never going to get off the ground. Don't be so sure. This guy's a massively influential person. Are you kidding me? With just ignoring this? This is not an insignificant guy.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today, my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 29 minutes. Left lane block, that's going to be right around North Avenue. Stop and go from Edens Junction. Now on the outbound side from about Burn to Montrose, 29 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 29 minutes. Outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive is about 26 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a passing shower early, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow brings pleasant weather with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Mike Rowe doesn't want to say I told you so, but, Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs, Deadliest Catch. Mike Rowe told you so.
We've been telling kids for 15 years to code. Learn to code, we said. Yeah, well, AI is coming for the coders. They're not coming for the welders. They're not coming for the plumbers. They're not coming for the steam fitters or the pipe fitters or the HVAC. They're not coming for the electricians. You know, that Ideas Festival I was telling you about in Aspen, I sat there and listened to Larry Fink say we need 500,000 electricians in the next couple of years. Not hyperbole. This is me being the alarmist again. There's not a week that goes by in my humble little foundation. It's called MicroWorks. Shameless plug. We award work ethic scholarships every year, right, to kids who want to learn a skill that's in demand. These are trade school scholarships. Not a week goes by where I don't get a phone call from somebody like the Blue Forge Alliance, who oversees our maritime industrial base. That's 15,000 individual companies who are collectively charged with building and delivering 3 nuclear-powered subs to the Navy every year for 10 years. Right? 2 Virginia, 1 Columbia class. Mind-bogglingly complicated. This guy calls and says, we're having a hell of a time finding tradespeople. Can you help? I said, I don't know, man. It's pretty skinny out there. How many do you need? He says 140,000. 140,000. Now, granted, over 7 years, but they need 80,000, 90,000 right now. These are our submarines, folks, right? Things go hypersonic, little sideways with China, Taiwan, whatever. Our aircraft carriers are no longer the point of the spear. They're vulnerable. Our submarines matter. And these guys have a pinch point because they can't find welders and electricians to get them built. Where are they? They said. We've looked everywhere. Do you know? I said, yeah, I know where they are. They're in the 8th grade, man. They're in the 8th grade. And the same thing, the automotive industry needs 80,000 collision repair and technicians. Energy, I don't even know what the number is. I hear 300, I hear 500,000 everywhere. So, not to filibuster, but that's the underlying thing that I just really hope people take from this conference. There is a clear and present freakout going on right now. I've heard from 6 governors in the last 6 months. I've heard from the heads of major companies in the country. It's like a memo has gone out. And people are realizing, you know something? We need to tend to this, both on the PR side and on the demographic. I don't know what to do about the retiring demography. I don't know what to do about 7 million able-bodied men choosing not to work. But I do know that the message to the young men and women in this state that a bright future awaits if they would but learn a skill that's in demand, that's going to resonate politically, that's going to resonate practically, it's going to move the needle.
Well, somebody who has picked up on the memo and expanded on what you heard from Mike Rowe to talk about how it's potentially impacting our politics, actually the conversation we were just having about New York City last hour, and Zohran Mamdani's surprise to some primary victory, is Mark Mills. He's the founder and executive director of the National Center for Energy Analytics, and he joins us now. Mark, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
It's great to join you. What a great, delicious, perfect summation of the reality from Mike Rowe. He's He's terrific.
Well, it's interesting, too, and you in this piece that you wrote for City Journal, Mamdani, AI and the Job Apocalypse, and you're talking about, his appeal is you can, in part to that younger demographic that's upwardly mobile or would like to be, you can do it one of two ways. You can offer the Mike Rowe approach, go learn a marketable skill, and you're going to be employed making nuclear subs for as long as you want to be. Or you can say, hey, the state needs to intercede here and take care of me, which is Mamdani's offer.
Well, as I wrote on my piece, I mean, this is an unoriginal insight. When we're in a times of disruption and uncertainty, it does create anxieties. And this is a case where the bullets are real for the paranoid, right? They really are. We really are coming at you. And that's when socialism becomes much more seductive and attractive. People get nervous and worried. They want somebody they trust and like and smart to manage the disruption, to make everything okay. And it's hard to avoid that psychology. And usually it's a minority, but when a plurality, doesn't have to be a majority, when a plurality feels that way, significant group of people, then you get political revolutions. So that's frankly what worries me. I mean, I think it's the reason Mamdani is appealing. It's not because he is appealing, the personality, and he's a TikTok virtuoso and all that good stuff. He's tapping into something. This is ironic. Much as Trump tapped into the same kind of thing. Trump tapped into the disaffection, dissatisfactions in the flyover America, and both physically and intellectually. I mean, the class of Americans who felt like they were being flown over, even if they lived in some suburbs. He tapped into that, whether you like him or not. It was a preternaturally smart instinct. I think he's the same. I think he's got the same instinct, tapping into the same anxieties about this disruptions in markets and how, of course, AI, the boogeyman, making everything worse, and got to protect me.
Well, right. And I mean, of course, as we know from history, populism can manifest itself in various forms, some more productive than others. You point out, though, too, is look, I mean, the memo that's gone out from corporate America that Mike Rowe is talking about, it's not like they're being quiet about it. You talk about some Ford CEO, Jim Farley, that AI is going to replace literally half of all white-collar workers in the United States. I mean, those are big statements and scary statements, not just to 18 to 29-year-olds. And the question I think a lot of people have is, how fast and, how fast am I potentially on the chopping block, more or less? The one thing I wanted to ask, though, in addition to that, and then I'll let you go, is, this idea of the nuclear subs, and we need welders and electricians and so forth. But I mean, at some point, AI and humanoids, they're going to replace a lot of people with trade skills too, aren't they?
Yes, on a limited basis. But this is a very old story, and then some people act like AI, that infamous, most dangerous words in English language. This time it's different.
Yeah,
it's always different in specifics, but not different in the broad impact. So robots will replace some manual labor, and they will therefore make those who are doing the difficult, if not impossible, for a long time to automate tasks more valuable. So the robots are an amplifier when it comes to the skilled trades, not a replacer, in my view. And I think if you look at how robots are being designed in that field, you would come to the same conclusion. So if you look at any labor domain, we have a confusion on two things. You don't get one-for-one replacements except in the exceptions, the famous Luddite exception. People, the automated loom in the Middle Ages, that's where the word came from. The Luddites, who were the manual loomers, protested. But the automated loom created more jobs and more manual jobs in the supply chain for the weaving in the garment industry in that time, just as it will do in the construction trades now. But in the time frames that matter, these revolutions they're scary. They don't happen overnight. And the problem with these silly statements, we're going to replace half of all white-collar workers. First, it's hyperbole. And second, it might indeed replace half of certain kinds of jobs, for sure, and they're white-collar jobs, just as, nobody does hand-drawn engineering diagrams. You don't have these, graphics designers hand-drawing engineering drawings. They're done by CAD/CAM.
Right.
But that's fine. They're gone. We don't have typists anymore. You know all the analogies. this hype around it replacing everything that misses the boat. In fact, the problem that we have here is that for every welder, we need hundreds of thousands of welders and electricians. In the businesses that do the real trades, those industries have white-collar jobs that are not replaceable. And so as those industries expand again, sort of think of the welder as the equivalent in the military, as the guy on the front line or the gal on the front line, the tip of the spear. You have a support infrastructure behind it. Yes, AI means the support infrastructure is lighter. So, if you used to be one welder would have to have 5 support people behind it, let's just say. Now it's 2. All right? But it's a net new 2 jobs. That's the point, right? It's generating job growth in a productive way. So you get more welders with less overhead. That means the welder gets paid more. You've created net new jobs. This is how markets really work, as opposed to these silly hand waves about all these jobs are gone. Yes, jobs get eaten and new ones are created.
Right. Creative destruction is always scary, but that's part of growth and advancement, no question. I wonder what your take is on all of the discussion and debate, and including how genuine it really is, about regulating the development of AI, sort of at the macro level, because there's you provided it. There's an alternative way to go too, which is the approach that we generally took to the rise of personal computers and smartphones.
Yeah. Well, first, I'm being a Reagan baby, so to speak. When I was a very young man, I worked in that White House science office, and so I confess being imprinted by the Reagan philosophy, which is not a new one, which is that I don't believe that there's anybody in any government smart enough to know what the future looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And regulators, especially who do heavy-handed regulation, they essentially adopt the position that we know what the outcome should be from a new technology. That doesn't mean there shouldn't be regulations. The guardrails around new technologies always are. We always create regulatory guardrails. But the guardrail approach is really different from the heavy-handed regulatory approach of picking winners and losers, being very specific. And I would say, while I'm not a lawyer, I've hung out with a lot of them over the decades, I would say that for the majority of things that people worry about, established laws and regulations are applicable to the kinds of malfeasance or misuse of any technology, even AI. So the first order of business is to look at how current regulations law can properly apply to what businesses do with a new tool, as opposed to run around with hair on fire, saying we've got to constrain this thing. First, that would be bad economically, but more importantly, philosophically, it presumes that there's a benign, perfectly smart, perfectly fair genius in some form of some bureaucrat or policymaker that is going to dictate outcomes of how technology is used. That just by stating that, if you think that, I can't argue with you. I mean, it's a form of hubris historically and otherwise. There's no argument against that kind of philosophy. The truth is we don't have that kind of vision. So yeah, it doesn't mean everything's going to be happy, Pollyanna, everything's perfect. No. But the outcomes are net good for the economy and net good for most people, but not for everybody. And that's where social revolutions come from. That's where the Mandamis of the world come from.
The point that Mike Rowe made, just I don't even know how many job openings or what the job needs are for the burgeoning energy sector to keep up with the technological advancement. You wrote recently about that, what the future of energy looks like concurrent with the AI revolution, and what's your sort of best thumbnail on it?
Well, we're creating a boom in demand for skilled trades to build data centers. So this, you heard in the news, the big Pennsylvania Energy AI Summit that the president held with a bunch of cabinet officers. And so $90 billion alone, I think, was committed to building infrastructure, which is data centers and power plants in Pennsylvania. Here's the irony. So you build the data centers, you need electricians, welders, people can drive trucks. I mean, these things are built out of steel and concrete. I mean, never mind the chips you fill up with. These are giant buildings, construction trades. You have to have copper wires, and people can pull cables. So the data centers themselves are going up to skilled trades that are exactly the same skilled trades as the power plants, which are net new. There's a boom on need, and those are the same people that Amazon needs to hire to work in building their warehouses and operate their warehouses, and the same people that FedEx and UPS wants to hire to drive trucks and handle their infrastructure. So the good news here in the shortage is it means booming wages and opportunities for anybody who wants to chase that domain. But the shortage is spread across every industry. It's probably the single biggest impediment to fueling the next decade of growth. I think it's going to solve itself, by the way. If you look at the data showing the increase of young men and women applying to go into the apprenticeship skilled trades, if you look at the number of high schools, to Mike Rawls' point, that have shop classes again, it's booming. I mean, I love shop class. I mean, I'm a physicist, but so that's kind of a theoretical domain, but an awful lot of scientists like using their hands like I did.
Mm-hmm.
I love shop class. Shop classes went away. I thought that was a tragedy and a travesty. They're coming back. So, in the short term, it's going to be tough. In the medium term, I think this gets solved rapidly. And it doesn't get solved with government saying, here's how you train next generation skilled trades. It gets solved by looking at what government is doing to impede the ability of private markets to help in the training and the upskilling of all the people who want to be in these trades. And again, I'll say it again, it's not just you're going to be a welder on the front line. Businesses that have welders, most of their employees are not doing the welding. They're in the business of managing everything around the infrastructure. AI will help them, and thank goodness it'll help them because there aren't enough people to hire.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to characterize, so this is in the form of a question. So, I mean, is it your view that a lot of the concerns that are expressed about creative destruction, about misinformation with, the Groks and the other AI online learning language models and so forth, that the real overriding concern about the AI revolution is that actually central planners are too heavy-handed and impede the development?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. That's my real concern. Here's how two things could be possible simultaneously. And two things are the case simultaneously. Much about AI is being overhyped, silly stuff. The Terminator apocalypse, Matrix, all that. There's a lot of goofy things being said by otherwise smart people about AI. A lot of hype, and it's even possible and very likely equity values in some of the AI plays are overhyped in the bubble. But it's also possible and true that it is simultaneously the case that AI is a really big deal. It's really consequential. It's going to make a big difference, and a positive one with the penumbra of things that we won't like always. I mean, the railroad era, when it boomed, I mean, there are very few times in history where you have a comparable revolution. And when that's happened, you get both. You get hype, the railroad scams and a stock market to build out the rail era are epic, in fact, in the 19th century. And that doesn't mean that the railroads weren't consequential. Those who've studied history know that the railroad era changed the economic face of America. We went from an agricultural to an industrial society, largely because of what the railroads and their infrastructures represented. So it was a huge deal. It was a very good thing that happened to the country and to the world. But it was disruptive, and it generated bubbles and hype as well. We're there again. And maybe to be fair to people who are really anxious, when they say this time it's different, yes, it is. It's different in this way. We lived through an interregnum period of largely stagnant productivity growth, relatively low economic growth for the last at least 2 or 3 decades. And so for most people who are alive and well and can vote, paying attention, it feels different now. Well, it is. I think Ken Langone was on Squawk Box this week talking about where we are, talking about Trump, talking about the economy. And he said something that I said and wrote in my book, The Cloud Revolution. He said he's really, really excited about the future now. He says this is the most exciting time to live. He just turned 90. He said, I wish I could live another 90 years to watch how this is going to play out. This is a great time to be alive and young and in a booming economy. So he's gone from a mild bear to a permabull on economic growth, and not because of Trump. He thinks Trump has helped, unlocked by pulling in regulations, but because of where we are technologically. They talked about AI, and I have to say I was thrilled to hear him say many of these things that I, the kind of ideas that I'm peddling here. Great to, and he's not a tech guy, right? He's a great builder of Home Depot. He was the co-founder.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and young intellectually too, 90, but still forward-looking. Mark Mills, founder and executive director of the National Center for Energy Analytics. Mark, thanks as always for your time. Appreciate it.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me back. Take care.
Thank you. And Mark Mills joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicagoland traffic. The Ike, the Stevenson, the dreaded 294. You sitting in traffic is not time well spent. Time is money.
Oh, come on, man. What's the slowdown for?
Especially when you're trying to do your own company deliveries.
What is happening up there? I got things to deliver.
But instead of sitting there getting more and more frustrated,
please, can we go any slower?
You could be back at the shop getting work done.
I should have stayed at work and actually worked.
Get Quick Delivery Service to battle the traffic for you. They'll make your deliveries while you get other things done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your deliveries are tracked with real-time GPS notifications. Visit quickdelivery.com and stay out of traffic.
Oh no, this exit's closed?
Call now for a free quote. 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 5:38, we're going to talk to a friend of the show, James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent and criminal profiler, most famously from the Unabomber case. We're going to talk about, what else? Epstein and the FBI at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Senate Republicans are giving the thumbs up to cutting funding for public broadcasting, global health programs, and some more foreign aid. Lawmakers narrowly passed a package early this morning that would take $9 billion in spending that already has been approved. It's part of the efforts of the Department of Government Efficiency that used to be run by billionaire Elon Musk. Now the measure goes back to the House for approval before heading to the president's desk for a signature. If that happens, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds NPR and PBS, would lose funding along with the World Health Organization and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Some voters disapprove of the Trump administration's decision to deport illegals to countries other than their own.
According to a study conducted by Quinnipiac University, 64% of respondents disapprove of the deportation flights, while 30% said they approve of the practice. The poll also found that 39% of voters approve of the way ICE is enforcing immigration laws, while 57% disapprove and 4% did not offer an opinion. I'm Brian Shook.
This news update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care. Only better.
Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Level 10 Coating. You've been hearing the ads on AM 560 for months. Listeners love the product. Shiny new garage floors. And here's the thing. If you grow up in Chicago, you know a garage isn't just for parking cars. It's a sanctuary for yourself. Sometimes you could throw a kid's party there. Sometimes you can watch a game with your friends. But it doesn't have to be a cracked, dry, ugly cement floor with all dust on it. It can be a product you love. That's what Level 10 Coating delivers. Level 10 Coatings makes it someplace you'll want to be all the time. Level 10 Coatings, you can call now for a free quote at 855-510-2628. The number again, 855-510-2628. It's not just garage floors either. It's anywhere you want to make the cement feel more than cement at level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 29 minutes. Left lane block, that's going to be right around North Avenue. Stop and go from Edens Junction. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 29 minutes. Outbound is about 22 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive is about 26 minutes. This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Is it time for a new job? Then it's time for Express Employment Professionals. Quit the endless online job search. Enlist the pros. Let a local recruiter from one of their 870 locations help. And Express never charges job seekers a fee. Go to ExpressPros.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a brief shower in spots early this morning, then mostly cloudy skies. The high will reach 74. Tonight will be clear with a low of 62. Tomorrow looks pleasant with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 82. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So we've been treated for years by stories like, the one Dan Bongino, now the deputy director of the FBI, told in 2023 on another pro-MAGA podcast, the one that Tim Pool does, the Timcast, or I think that's what he calls it. This was Dan Bongino in 2023 telling the story about Epstein and Clinton that he heard from a reliable source, I guess a friend or former colleague, Secret Service. The point is, this is what informs our understanding of what we weren't being told, in addition to legitimate questions not receiving credible answers. And the problem Trump has in taking the posture he's taken is now we're again being dismissed and treated and not being given credible answers to legitimate questions. The Bongino anecdote.
I get a call, about 4 years ago. It's from, let's say, a friend. Prior line of work thing, right? Guy says, listen, and this guy who calls me is an unimpeachable source. This guy's not like some ham and egg or tomato can guy throwing out some theory about a UFO he saw 72 years ago, whatever. This is like a legit, no-nonsense guy. Guy you trust with your, wife, kid, and car, right? He says, I got sent on a temporary assignment once. And on that assignment, I got sent out with on the WCD detail, William Clinton detail. And I knew this guy well. And he says, Dan, I got to share this with someone. He says, I go on a plane and Bill, Clinton gets on the plane with this guy. And it turns out later the guy's Epstein. Now, this guy I'm talking to, this source, he don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. He's just getting on the plane doing the thing, the whole protection gig, right? He says, I get on the plane, and there are these girls who are obviously not of age who are on this plane. They're clearly young. These are not women. These are girls. And he says, I see Clinton, disappear into the back he goes, I don't know what happened. I'm not saying what happened because all I know is he disappeared, and these girls were back there or whatever. And he said they land at the next stop, wherever it was. And he goes up to the boss on the detail and he says, I ain't getting back on this plane. Because he's a temp. He's not used to whatever Clinton was up to with the whole shenanigans thing. And this guy's clear as the driven snowman. He don't want to mess around with this. He says, whatever just happened back there, I don't want any piece of it. They sent him home. They sent that guy home. And he was never tempted to that detail again. Now, remember, all those Blackberries on that detail. Here's where the story gets super weird. The guy tells me, months or a couple weeks later, when you lose property in the Secret Service, an email goes out. It'll say hey, I lost his phone, and it gets logged into NCIC or whatever it is, and everybody knows. So basically, if you find this guy's gun, God forbid, or his phone, it's now effectively stolen property, right? All of a sudden, all the Blackberries on that detail for the agents start showing up this guy lost his BlackBerry. Holy wow, that's so crazy. How'd that happen? I'm like, no. He says, yes. He says it was the craziest thing. Oh, look, Agent Joey Bag of Donuts, missing BlackBerry. This is around the whole time, the Clinton thing's going on. So fast forward this story, right? He tells me that about a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it. But the short story, but not who they are. Says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right?
So it's one thing for a podcaster to say that. It's another thing when a podcaster becomes the deputy director of the FBI. And by the way, Kash Patel, of course, we played the clips. He's not said that specifically, the assertion of being some intel asset for Middle East countries. But, put on your big boy pants, go get the file, go get the list. House Republicans, you're in the majority. Well, okay. Well, now you're the FBI director. Are your big boy pants on? You say these things. You're in positions now to know or to know more. And what do we have from the FBI? Kash and Dan? Nothing. Nothing since Pam Bondi issued that memo. Other than Trump's characterization on Monday of this week that he talked to Dan Bongino and everything's copacetic and there's no more infighting if there ever was. And of course, what do we have from Trump? Anybody who doesn't want to move on from this is consorting with the enemy.
Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had, a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
For more on this, please be joined by our friend James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent, criminal profiler from the Unabomber case, among others, now co-host of the Cold Red podcast, which is on Spotify and Apple. He's also the author of A Journey to the Center of the Mind memoir series. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good to be with you. And for the record up front, I know for a fact I am not on any list which may or may not exist of Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
I never saw the list, but I'm pretty sure you're not on it either.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm certainly willing to have it disclosed if it exists. I'm confident enough there. So, I mean, if you were the FBI director or deputy director, What would you be doing in this situation?
Probably a long vacation at this point in time. No, it's this start. I was on Tucker Carlson show in mid-August of 2019, a week or two after Epstein is found dead in his cell, and I said up front then, Tucker, I think it's a suicide until I see evidence otherwise. It's a suicide. He had so much to lose. He had, a life or certainly many years in prison, and his whole world's collapsing around him. He had an attempt before. So that's that part of the story. I don't have any problem stating that. And I went on the record. I've heard since then Tucker didn't, he thought it wasn't a suicide. It was a murder. That's fine. So now it comes down to people have kind of almost sort of quasi-settled when Epstein killed himself. Now it has to do with this infamous list, which may or may not exist. I tend to go with Occam's razor. I mean, if it's unless you have evidence otherwise, it's probably what is the most describable situation and solution to a situation. However, when politics are involved at the very highest levels with possible intel community, other countries, hidden wires or cameras or microphones, there are mitigating circumstances which come into play here, which you just can't use basic rules of everyday evidence like I would use for my 31 years in law enforcement, putting cases together, building them, arresting someone, taking them to court, getting a conviction. So there are so many other factors here, and we hear it's almost like a left-hand, right-hand thing situation. Pam Bondi says one thing a few months ago, then a week or two ago, other matters come out contradicting her to a certain extent. So I wish I could tell you and your listeners I'm on the inside and I have this information. I tend to like Dan Bongino. Some people call him a patch collector. NYPD, Secret Service, media, podcaster, now back in the FBI, or I should say in the FBI. I won't use that term, but where he's coming from, I don't know. Supposedly he stormed out of the room last week with Pam Bondi and yelling on the way out. People said it didn't happen that way. So there's definitely problems with this particular list, whether it exists or not, and whether it's an actual typed out list, in Boston, in gold, highlighted names and dates and places. Who knows that? It could be some loose list of napkins or a photo drive or a drive in some computer. So if it does exist, but go ahead.
But the list isn't the issue, and what form it is, or if it's not a list, it's laminated and it's got dates and times, and it's I mean, the point is the reckoning. The point is the disclosure. The point is the as I said at the outset, giving credible answers, even if they're incomplete, even if they're unsatisfying, but credible answers to legitimate questions instead of getting waved off and accused of being a quisling if you don't just move on.
Yeah, but there's so much at risk here. And let's an easy way to look at this is, for 4 years, Biden and his people were in charge, and they had access, arguably, ostensibly, to this list, to this evidence, this information. If it was all bad people or even just Trump on it, we know for a fact it would have been released.
Right.
And apparently his name is in there somewhere. There's some pictures, but he also banned Epstein, Trump did, from Mar-a-Lago and wanted no parts of the guy, seemingly afterwards. And now the Republicans are in charge, everything, House, Senate, you name it, DOJ, and it's still not being released. There must, if it exists, there's got to be some really high-ranking people on this list that would affect both sides. And it's like a handshake among a half a dozen people saying, all right, here's the deal. We'll pass this bill. You won't say these words about you. We'll let this go. And I'm not saying that's the case, but if this list doesn't exist, it obviously permeates both parties. And there are high-ranking people, CEOs, big contributors to both parties that somehow wound up caught in this guy's spider web on his fantasy island back in the day.
I mean, maybe. I mean, that's certainly logical intuition. I don't know either, but I mean, certainly that's being bandied about. But of course, that's no defense. This is supposed to be different. And, Biden administration did what they did or didn't do what they didn't do. So we're going to do the same thing because we have some sort of non-aggression pact because both sides could get hurt. That's the whole value proposition of MAGA, is that you're not part of the usual way of doing business. So it just and if there is something like that, and you think it's important enough that you cut this deal, then you got to level with the American people about some deal you cut.
Well, and let me throw another mitigating factor in there. I'll use the Jack Ruby analogy, not exactly the way it is, but here's the guy that shot Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of President Kennedy, 1963. He sat in prison for a decade, 15 years later, supposedly having a lot of big secrets he could tell. And it still is a question, why did he shoot Oswald 3 days after and was allowed to? Well, we have in this case Ghislaine Maxwell, who's doing a 20-year sentence, convicted in 2020. She must have a wealth of information. You think her lawyers would come forth? Well, I know they sort of tried, but it just hasn't been successful yet. She's got to know what's that. She's the Jack Ruby of this case.
Well, she said she wants to through an intermediary. She said she wants to tell her story before a congressional committee. So let's do it.
Why is she being silenced? And boy, her one of the victims, Virginia Giuffre, however her name is pronounced, committed suicide in Australia early this year. Who knows what she was about to say or do or come out with? But yeah, if there's any answer or at least partial answer to this, and again, we'd have to take it on face value and back everything up she says.
Right.
That'll be interviewing Ms. Maxwell in prison, getting her before Congress, as you said. I can't believe she didn't cut a deal, that she's still serving 20 years in prison if allegedly she has all the information about these highfalutin people. But then she could be afraid of the same people that maybe high-ranking Republicans and Democrats are. So this is an octopus in a spider web in a very dark room full of mirrors. And unless someone is willing to come forward and ostensibly put their life on the line, we may never know anything more about this.
Well, I mean, again, Maxwell reportedly is, and so and there's some interest. It seems to be, including from Senate Majority Leader John Thune. But we'll see if that happens. But I guess my point too is, particularly as it pertains to the FBI, your former employer. I mean, don't you think this the handling of this thus far goes to again undermine the credibility of the FBI in the public's mind, in addition to the Trump administration, in addition to President Trump? I mean, he's going to suffer some collateral damage here, too, if this is the best that they can offer, it seems to me.
Well, it does, but it goes back to, for 6 months now with the promises made by Pam Bondi, DOJ, what's sitting on her desk, boxes and videotapes, underage people. I get all that stuff. Names like that can be easily redacted, pictures blurred.
Yep.
And no one wants to see, the actual porn stuff, even done in secret, perhaps, to the persons involved in it. But there certainly could have been that information reviewed. There could be some select committee, I'll use that term loosely, put together that's allowed to go in independent and look at everything in there and say what exists, what doesn't exist. Of course, we don't know what could be removed from the file, either from the Democrats years ago, Republicans now who are in charge, or a combination of both of them. So this is not going to go away. This doesn't help Trump, doesn't help my former agency, the FBI. Just when they were kind of crawling out of the hole that Comey and Chris Wray put them in, this doesn't help. They're doing other good work. I still support Patel and Bongino for that matter, but they definitely could have handled this matter better. And I am disappointed that there isn't a more cut and dry solution to this. Even like I said, bringing in some independent team of people to look at everything in there and see what they come up with.
James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent and famed criminal profiler from the Unabomber case, among others, now co-host of the Cold Red podcast, which you can download on Spotify and Apple and all the platforms, and also author of A Journey to the Center of the Mind, a memoir series. James Fitzgerald, thanks as always. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good one.
You too. And he joined us in the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Milo bedroom from Penny Mustard takes you back to the time of Mad Men, martinis, and mop tops.
Right on. I love Milo's clean, streamlined look. It's a gas.
Made in the USA and scaled to fit any room.
Perfect for your pad. It's totally bodacious.
Wrong decade, Arvid.
Don't be so square, man. The Milo bedroom with queen platform bed, 6-drawer dresser, mirror, and 3-drawer nightstand, starting at $52.09 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Well, it persists. We'll see if there are more pronouncements from the Trump administration and, of course, the president himself on this today. I still, somebody's going to have to pick up what Ghislaine Maxwell said and decide whether or not to whistle her before a committee if she's willing to testify. Anyway, that's more fodder for tomorrow. Thank you for joining us today. It is now 9 o'clock, AM 560, WIND Chicago.
They passed it while